Hey gamers, I'm just trying to hork some food down real quick. I meant to start a little bit earlier, but I ended up doing some more apartment-related things with my partner, so had to get lunch. Stream officially will be starting momentarily, and probably very shortly after that we'll start on with Malcolm and everyone else who's going to be on this very cool panel stream, so look forward to that momentarily. I got a chicken sandwich. Pretty yummy. I don't normally eat chicken sandwiches. I wanted a burger, but I'm trying to make better decisions for my heart health. So no burger.
Beautiful. No, you're totally fine. I mean, god damn it. What's wrong with you? No, I'm just kidding.
Hi, everybody. How's my
Oh,
stamina
hi.
coming? Yeah, I was doing an
Beautiful.
introduction to my stream, so sorry,
Beautiful.
not
That sounds
sorry.
great. It's perfect. Okay, I'm just waiting for Luxander to finish eating, and then we can party.
Yay! It's a Lumi. It's good to see you, Lumi.
Good to see you too, Josie. How you doing? Your hair
And
matches mine. We match.
I know we match. I know.
It's
the
funny.
best thing.
Katarana recently got her hair dyed purple as well.
Really? Ooh.
See,
It's
the
Should I
just
dye
the
my
time
hair
for
purple?
purple. Purple's so good.
purple is so perfect.
Should I do it next?
I wanted to bleach my hair so it would be like the Slim Shady vibes. That's what I was hoping for.
Yeah, that'd be good.
That would be good. You sound really hesitant about that.
There's a lot going on, guys. Sorry. I'm I'm in this call right now, you guys. It's not public yet. It's actually Goddammit Malcolm's. It's difficult for me to talk to you all while I'm waiting because there's also conversation happening in this thing, and also like I'm on screen for them so they can see me talking to you. It's real weird. Sorry for the delayed wind-up. I did plan to come on earlier to talk to you all, but just didn't end up happening that way. We're going to be ready to come on in a minute. Do you like the new chat background? I made a new one. Yeah, this is like a nightmare for my ADD, honestly.
I'm just going in order from my screen. I know that everybody else's is jumbled, so we'll go Josie, Lumi, Luxander, Leftist Owl, and then Ash.
Hi, everybody. I am Josie Rose C. here on this platform. I go by she, her pronouns. I am a political streamer, cozy streamer. I do political content. I also do a lot of trans issues and different reactionary content. And I'm happy to be on this panel because I have the wonderful honor of running the U.S. Trans Survey. So we're going to talk about some really cool stuff, and I'm ready to interact with all you wonderful people.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thanks for your time today, my friend. All right, Lumi, it is your turn.
It's me. I'm Lumi Rue. I use any all pronouns except for he, him, she, her, and I talk about a wide range of topics from an intersectional feminist perspective, like men's liberation, women's liberation, gender liberation, sexual liberation. Pretty much, I like liberation. I'm glad to be here. Looking forward to talking with you all about these important topics. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for pulling this together. It means a lot. So,
Of course. Thanks for your time. Very much so appreciate it. All right, Luxander, it is your turn, my friend.
Hello, I am Luxander. I recently decided that I thought its pronouns were pretty cool, so if you want to use those, that's like most preferable. Otherwise, I'm usually just going by they, them. I have been making content on YouTube since like 2015, and it's mostly been like transition related. But then more recently, I have been branching out and talking about politics and generally just expanding beyond that like kind of 101 education level stuff and starting to stream lately. So that's what I'm about. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to do my first like gender panel. That's really good stuff.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm happy that you could come. I was worried because you didn't respond to my DM like the second that I sent it, so I was like, oh no, like.
I'm
Luxander's
terrible
mad at
about
me.
this. This is just something that everybody here has to know about me. If you ever want to get in touch, is just like expect several days of delay.
It do be like that sometimes. All right, Lefty Sal, it is your turn, my friend.
I'm the Left Style. I do political content on Twitch as well as media analysis and video gaming. Recently started doing Elden Ring. Also do a series called Voices of Pride, where I interview people of the LGBT community, sort of get their thoughts on specific topics and ideas. And I go by they them.
Beautiful. Your Twitter bio said they he, so I put they he on here. Please don't cancel me. I'm
Oh,
very
that's
sorry.
fine. No, that's fine.
Please don't cancel me. I'm sorry, everyone. Please.
You've
Cancel
already
culture
been
is just
canceled by a lot of things, so I think
I
this
know.
is the least of your worries.
true. I've had worse takes. This is true. This is true.
Yes.
All right, and then Ash, last but not least, thanks for stepping in. I appreciate you jumping in on such short notice.
Yeah, hi, my name is Ashley Jubilee. I got called to do this panel literally 5 minutes ago, so hello. I'm a new Twitch streamer. I stream a variety of stuff. I usually play a lot of Overwatch. I do Canadian politics. I do weekly NHL. Like I have my own like sports center. We do weekly media analysis. We're doing watch parties in my Discord, and that's a little exciting. And I just started streaming, so it's a lot of variety content. And I just want to shout out that with the topics that is coming up with trans youth, on Saturday I'm doing a charity stream for Texas families and the Texas ACLU. I'm going to be playing Elden Ring. I've never played a Souls game in my life, so I'm going to be playing for like 24 hours. That's going to be a lot of fun, so I hope to see y'all there.
What's your pronouns?
Oh, she, her.
Thank you.
And then, Ash, if you want to send me that link, I'll drop that link as well for your stream when you're doing your 24-hour charity stream. I will drop that for everybody so they can follow your beautiful face and raise money for Texas children. And then for everybody who is watching on not my stream, first of all, rude. Second of all, I'm Malcolm. I use him pronouns. I'm a trans guy. I do a lot of trans political content. That's really like all that I do. Honestly, I talk a lot of shit. I play RuneScape sometimes, and I like organizing trans panels because I hate seeing panels that are like trans-related topics, and there's like one trans person and like 5 cis people. That makes me sad. That makes my heart sad. So I wanted to do a little bit community building, you know, like hang out with other trans people. Usually, like trans women hang out with trans women and trans men hang out with trans men. You know, I like the collectivism. You know, not your gender, our gender, right? That kind of stuff. That's what I like. So, God damn it, Malcolm on everything. I make YouTube videos talking shit. I stream and talk shit. That's kind of it. So cool, fantastic. All right. So I have 2 questions today that are like kind of broad, but I'm sure that we can kind of like talk it down, whittle it down a little bit. I mentioned in the messages as well that I usually like to cap these out at an hour and a half, just so you guys aren't trapped here like all day with me. I mean, unless you want to be here all day with me, that's totally fine. I'll accept that. But just so everybody can go on with their day and things like that. So for the first topic, this is kind of broad, and I actually wrote this before the Texas shit happened, so I'm sure that it will diverge this way anyway. But so the advancements of anti-trans bills, and then like what this will mean for trans people, specifically trans youth in the coming years. So as I'm sure all of us know, and for people who are trans and like watching this as well, there have been like 100+ anti-trans legislations proposed this year. Quite a few of them, surprisingly, have actually been passing. Lately, the kind of bill in Texas saying that trans youth themselves, it's child abuse to have like a trans kid, things like that. What is this going to look like in the future for like trans kids, and what are some things that we can do to kind of like circumvent this, or things that could maybe prevent more of this shit passing in the future? And then you can all fight to the death for who goes first. Go.
Okay, I'll go, I guess. I can't handle it. I can't handle the silence. I'm like, okay, fine. So this has actually been something that we, I think we know is coming. Like you said, we've had 100+ trans bills that have been introduced. It's about 158 now, as we know of, active bills in actual the state houses across the United States. What a lot of people don't know about this Texas bill is it was actually introduced in a Senate bill in the state of Texas to actually redefine child abuse. Now, that bill wasn't seen in the state house last year because they wanted to push the getting trans girls out of sports first, and that's what they were able to pass the last minute, the last session in the state of Texas. So that's why that bill is already passed. Now, what Governor Abbott wants to see since the primaries are literally a week from now, or a little less now, I think, from a week, they wanted to give a political red meat to their base to say, oh yes, the culture warriors are fighting for us, we're going to vote for these people, and it is detrimental. We've already seen, spikes in mental health crises in the state of Texas because people are now starting to be afraid of that their parents are going to let them transition now because they're afraid they're going to be called out for child abuse. There are doctors now, and this is just the kind of way that Texas does things. Just like when we had Lawrence v. Texas, which was the anti-sodomy bill, that law was in place for a long time. It wasn't overturned until like 2005 roughly, or 2003, because it was a bill that was specifically there to scare people to be like, oh, you better not be openly gay or they can arrest you for this arbitrary law. And it wasn't until it actually happened, when these cops actually arrested somebody for sodomy, was the moment that the Supreme Court was able to then overturn it and do that. So this is very typical for the state of Texas to like pass bills that scare people, kind of like the abortion bills, like, don't you do it or you're going to get sued. It's now don't you let your kids transition or the state's going to take them away. Like this is those are how it is, because right now this has no teeth, but we already know in the Senate bill that it actually has teeth in the writing that is going to be trying to introduce later. But right now this doesn't have teeth, and it's up to the actual individual counties to do something about it. So I know I just talked for a second there, but I wanted to give a little bit more analysis and overview of what's going on in Texas with some historical context.
Yeah, and
I'm also from Texas too.
Yeehaw.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add on to that,
Fun.
And it's important to note that that like what you said with the primaries like a week away, the like what we're dealing with now with the opinion from Paxton and the directive from Governor Abbott, like these don't have teeth. While the Senate bill does have teeth, these aren't bills. These are directives from the Attorney General and the Governor to state agencies. So we've seen a couple district attorneys in Texas say that, we're not going to follow through on this. But we also have quite a few former state officials who are saying that they do expect the state agency as a whole to follow through on this. So even though it doesn't legally have teeth in the same way that a bill would, this is still like super, super scary, and this is still something that we like need to fight and such.
Yeah, we talked about this on stream the day before yesterday, I think, whenever that was. And the thing that I wanted to really point out about it was that, like, okay, yeah, like the ACLU says, like, this is not something that is going to really have a legal effect or whatever. Like, but the way that our system works, like, there are going to be cops who take action, who go into people's homes, who take away children and put them in foster care where they may be abused for being transgender children, and then those families can sue from jail. Like, the unfortunate fact of the situation is, like, we can say this doesn't have teeth, like, until we're blue in the face, but in reality, we're about to be confronted with, like, a very tangible need to defend our communities, unfortunately.
Yeah, so like, while there probably won't be an active effort to enforce these things, there will still be a passive enforcement through people that will take action, like Luxander was saying. There are plenty of obscure laws that haven't been stricken from the books that if a cop was feeling up to it, could possibly screw someone else's day. Like, it's just because something isn't necessarily going to be like actively enforced doesn't mean it can't be enforced. It doesn't mean people will bend the rules to enforce them.
Have any of you been in public school before? Do you know how vindictive principals and teachers can be?
Oh, absolutely.
True.
Oh man.
Lumi, did you have anything you wanted to add on that, my friend?
Yeah, I was gonna add. I wasn't gonna dig deep on the Texas, but just in general, we're seeing that wave of legislation, and how this is showing us, like, on a zoomed out level, shift from we already saw gay people being continuously attacked, and of course, gay people still being attacked, but it seems like conservatives have largely shifted their ideas or their eyes over to attacking trans people. In 2020, we saw hate crimes against gay people shift, they're decreasing a bit, whereas trans hate crimes are going up. And I think that this legislation is really drawing attention, this fear mongering and disinformation around trans people from conservatives, leading into increasing attack on trans people, including trans youth. So my primary concern is, always we need to be fighting back on the legal level, and it is ridiculous the numbers of legislation coming out in the 120s plus across the country. And while I understand a lot of those bills are going to die, and that's good, but unfortunately, it's just so much. It's just such a large wave to handle. And what I've been trying to do to remain positive is keep in mind that we will push through this, we will fight through this, but as we do need to defend our community in the same moment while maintaining that hope we can get through this. And I was very fortunate that just this week I got to talk to a 13-year-old that someone in my group connected me to, that was considering, my understanding was, they came out as bi. They're also contemplating their gender identity, and they're in a very, very unsafe place. But I was so amazed at how they had gotten connected to communities like ours, and they got the opportunity to experiment with their pronouns, experiment with their name, and they knew way more than I did at that age. And so what's really happening here is conservatives are fucking scared, and they should be, because trans youth know who they are. They are getting information about who they are. And so this is just their weak, scared backlash. And we need to stand strong for our youth, and I believe that we can. So to those of you running those communities, thank you. It has a meaningful impact, and let's keep working on that in the ways that we can.
Absolutely. I think I'm probably the youngest person here. So when I first started experimenting with names and pronouns, and I started getting into trans communities at 12 and 13, this was only 5-6 years ago. And even then there was just so much in these spaces, and you often found these spaces on places like Tumblr or in fandom spaces or on Twitter. And in these spaces there's such radical self-expression that you don't get in real life. That was an opportunity that was never given to me in real life. That was not an opportunity that I could have at my family or at school or anything. So these online spaces are so incredibly important for trans youth and just trans people in general. The amount of people that have reached out to me to talk about gender identity, or just in my community or in other communities around, the amount of camaraderie and the amount of help that I've seen trans people give each other in online communities is huge. So especially with a lot of these anti-trans bills and this rising anti-trans sentiment among Republicans and conservatives, it's really, really important that we bolster these communities, and that's something that I want to do, and that's something that I've seen a lot of people do, and it works. It really, really works. I've seen these communities just straight up save people's lives just because they're the only place for refuge for trans youth and for trans people. And so we need to keep emboldening these communities. We need to keep them healthy places. We need to keep advocating for these communities and making them bigger and all that such.
And if I could just throw in, oh, sorry, Lou, I'm going to throw in one more thing really quick. I think something that we could also kind of incorporate into this as well, which is tangentially related, is the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida, and how that will kind of punish the idea of appropriate, moderated, responsible conversations about sexuality and gender when kids aren't getting that at home, right? And taking that away is another layer of where are people going to go to find the support, and where are people going to go to find the right answers, because conservatives will fearmonger all the time, that if you see like gay people on TV, you're going to become gay, or like if teachers talk to you about gender ideology or whatever, you're suddenly going to transition or whatever. But if we're implementing like these responsible conversations in school, that's going to lead people to be less confused, especially if your family or like the environment that you're in isn't keen on having these kind of responsible conversations in the first place. So you can go, Lumi, but I wanted to throw that in there too. When Ash was talking about the idea of these spaces where we can kind of learn about things and educate each other, that schools sometimes have the responsibility of filling that in a responsible way. That way, like, they're not just getting misinformation from their parents where it's like, if you see two guys kiss, like, you have to close your eyes, otherwise you're going to be gay. Like, weird shit like that, right? Go ahead, Lemmy.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to get back into, like, I know a lot of us will speak on the online, and I was just speaking on the online because I do think that is a vital component. And that's something that we all have some control over. So we lean towards that direction, myself as well. But I think getting out in your communities and having that outreach in the ways that you can. And sometimes it feels like a lot. I know a lot of us, I mean, hands up if you feel a lot of pressure to take this on head on and it feels like a lot of weight. Like, it's been fucking overwhelming for me. And I know I'm not alone in that. But I think just getting out and connecting in your communities to know people, to let people know that you're there for them. And if you are involved in schools, get it, like, start speaking up in the ways that you can. It's hard for me, like, to say, how can we solve this when this is happening in 50 different states in so many different ways? And so I think it really is, yes, bolster these communities here as a way to learn and grow and have support and have safe spaces, but also how can we bring that out in the world around us? What communities are you involved in? And even if you can just help a little, even if it's just speaking up against bigotry, that is so important.
Yeah. Yeah. That's. I wanted to add that as much as the online is good, there needs to be more. There needs to, and I feel like the next easiest step and the next most impactful step for specifically trans, but in general, like LGBTQ acceptance is going to be like in schools. Like Malcolm mentioned the Don't Say Gay bill earlier, which prevents schools from teaching anything LGBT related at up until grade 3.
Yeah, K through 3.
Yeah, K through 3, and makes it so that schools will inform parents of any changes to someone's mental health or like name or gender, sexuality, or anything like that. That was actually a bill that was passed here in Alberta, here in Canada too. So this is not just an American thing. We're seeing this we're seeing these queer hostile bills being passed here in Canada too. But schools are going to be so incredibly important. Like, I'm working with my MLAs to affect the school curriculum so that these concepts, these queer concepts of gender and sexuality are taught at a younger age, and that kids at younger ages are exposed to these ideas, because that is what ultimately helps these kids the most. And so like emboldening resources at school like GSAs, and having and being able to actually teach these concepts in like sex ed classes younger is going to be something that's really, really important. And so the best way to do that, as far as I'm aware, would be to actually affect school curriculum. So that would be like contacting your MLA and talking about school curriculums for your province or for your state. That stuff is going to be super, super important, and that should be another step that we focus on. Because you see a lot of bigoted conservatives go to like PTA meetings, and they go to these school board meetings. We all saw the critical race theory board meetings where it was just filled to the brim with these parents who are so scared of their kids being taught that white people bad, because that's what they thought CRT was. But we as queer people need to do that as well. We need to get engaged in these schools and fight for our ideas to be pushed, so that we can expose young people to the ideas that being queer is like a thing, and it's possible, and it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for saying that. And MLAs are members of the Legislative Assembly, so that would be equivalent to a state assembly member
just here in
your
Canada. We have a
local states.
legislature.
Yeah. I'm used to jargon, and I'm just like, oh yeah, we're like alphabets. Like sometimes it's like,
Yeah.
a lot of acronyms. So I was just doing that for.
And they call
so-
us the alphabet people.
I know, right? I know. You're absolutely right. Now, one of the things that I focus on a lot is like the legislation and the data and the data that we receive from this stuff. So one of the things, and I'm glad you brought up the CRT thing, but the visibility is super, super important, right? Visibility is our most powerful weapon. And I think that's what we were talking about before about being out and being in the space, because ultimately that's how we got marriage equality, right? When people were like, oh wait, the gay person isn't the boogeyman, the gay person's like my friend, my neighbor, my postal worker, the person who serves me food, like, just normal everyday people, my boss, right? So that visibility was our most powerful weapon when it came to normalization of queer people in the space. And right now we're at that point where trans people are starting to be normalized and more in the space. So therefore, this death throw that Limi was talking about of like, oh my gosh, they're fighting back because they're so afraid of things actually turning out to be like, oh, by the way, this isn't a big deal. Like just like it was for marriage equality, it's not a big deal for people to just walk around and be trans. Like, it's really not a scary thing. So I predicted this a couple streams ago, several months ago, where critical race theory was the primer to teach the radical right to be able to go into school boards, know how the school board infrastructure works, to build in those networks so they can then create a pipeline of things to scare people on. Banning books, now queer education. Queer education is always been on the chopping block for a lot of conservative areas, because they're like, first, they hate sex education in general, but making sex education inclusive for a queer education as well is scary, because they know in their heart of hearts that being gay or being trans isn't a choice. So therefore, if you start teaching children early on that you can be trans or you can be gay, oh no, their kid might actually be one of those things because that's how they were born. I know personally, as you know, I transitioned a little late. I think I'm the oldest person on here by far. I'm like going to be 36 next month, and I transitioned at 34. Right? I came from Texas. I was in the Navy. I was impacted in situations where I had no opportunity to even explore my gender identity. But if somebody in school would have said, "Hey, Josie," like at 8 years old, when I was 8 or 10, "Hey, Josie, did you know that trans people exist? Did you know that this is a choice?" I'd have been like, "Oh my gosh, yes, that's what I am," because that defines everything that I'm feeling right now. But it was hidden from me, and it was so forbidden that I couldn't even like consider that this might be the case. I just had to consider that something was wrong with me, something was broken, that I just had to like deal with this. I thought every man at some point thought that, oh yeah, doesn't every guy wish they had a vagina from time to time? Like what's going on? Like, you know what I mean? Like I just thought that was like a typical thing, and everybody was all these people were just like, the cis guys are just like hiding this dark secret in the back of their brain, because it was like, there's just no way, right? Like this has to be normal because I'm dealing with it all the time.
You've heard of penis envy, but have you heard of pussy envy?
Yeah, right? Right?
Lumi, the neo-Freud.
Yeah, right. So to go back to the point, like, so the education is so important, and the visibility is so important, and us fighting back and actually like doing that in the legislature and making sure that things are done. Now, the Don't Say Gay bill is a perfect example of this. I just listened to a Maryland hearing, like the state of Maryland, on Friday, and they literally had a Don't Say Gay bill labeled as a parental rights act. And it was so intense because we're talking about Florida, and here in Maryland, right before they hear the trans sports ban, they hear a Don't Say Gay bill. Now, is Maryland probably going to not let that? They're probably going to shoot that down, probably. But the fact that it's being heard in every single state in this country, that this is up for debate, that this is something that we need to protect our children from, is really starting to show what is going on in our community. So visibility is very, very important, but we got to fight back. And just quickly, I know I'm pontificating here, but when I say that the Texas bill doesn't have teeth, I don't mean that it doesn't actually hurt people. I am saying that it is the starter to something to start becoming more and more impactful. This is like, okay, how is everybody going to deal with this? And then once they are able to like politically see the calculus and be like, oh, this wasn't so bad, or nobody lost a seat here, so now we actually have more courage to pass the more scary stuff in the future. So and it also signals to other states as well to say, hey, by the way, there's this thing that you can start doing, because that's what's starting to happen, is that the states are starting to the bigoted states are starting to talk to each other, and they're starting to figure it out, like, and starting to work together. So I think it's South Dakota or another state, they're trying to include a sex marker on birth certificates. So on birth certificates, they want to put a gender marker and a sex marker at the same time, so when somebody goes to change their birth certificate, they can't change their sex marker, they can only change their gender marker. Like, they are literally being that unfortunately clever to try to prevent us from even changing ourselves later, because they're like, oh, this letter on this sex line is immutable, it can never change, and we're going to make sure that happens, and we'll give them the gender because that's the only thing that they care about, right? So it's a very unique form of bigotry, and all of these states are learning from each other. So when we see "Don't Say Gay," there's going to be a similar bill that's going to be in Washington State. There's going to be a similar bill. Tennessee tried to do segregation, where they were saying, oh, if you serve trans people, then you have to put up a sign saying you let people use those bathrooms. Guess what? Other states are now trying to do that type of stuff too. Like South Dakota put out national ads saying that they're the first state in the country to pass their first anti-trans bill first this year. Like they are going hard right now. And the most important thing that Lumi was talking about is building those communities, so we know that we're safe, because that's what's going to save our lives, is people around us that affirm us for who we are. So I know I'm pontificated. I'll pass it.
God, Josie, shut the fuck up. No, I'm just kidding.
I know. All the space
Talk
is
to
my
me more,
space.
Josie.
I'm just kidding. Okay, I want to hear from Leftist Owl and Luxander, because you two have said the least on this topic. And then while Leftist Owl and Luxander were talking, everybody think of like a quick wrap up to this question, and then we can move on to the next one. We'll go around so everybody can have something to say. Hopefully nobody like just talks for fucking ever. Like, no, I'm just kidding.
I know.
I'm just kidding. I was kidding. But Leftist Owl, you and Luxander can fight to the death to see who's going first. Go ahead.
All right, I guess I'll go first. I agree. Visibility is very important. I think also educating, some of your the allies to the trans community could go a long way too in helping them combat other people. We can also have little hubs of like information on transition, on these different concepts and everything, and have people educated on these subjects, because that's one of the most important things, is not only controlling the narrative but also controlling the information that people get. We have to be able to concisely concisely filter this information to people, and be able to give them the tools to fight back against any misinformation or any like bad arguments that can come up. We can as an example, like basically explaining just how gender works in general, because a lot of people still have it in them that gender is just like this inherent thing, or it's like this just constant mainstay of society, when in reality it's just something that we've constructed, and it's not intrinsic. It's something that can change over time. And I think having the resources to be able to explain that in greater detail, and to go into why trans people existing doesn't harm anyone, and why it's okay to be trans. I think these things are important in maintaining our ability to basically control the information, and be able to get normies on our side, get people that average people on our side, rather than having conservative pundits have a chokehold on the information that people get.
True. We got to make sure the cis people don't control anything.
No more power for the cis.
You've had your turn. It's our turn now.
So I guess like the one sort of comment I want to make about the "Don't Say Gay" genre, like someone in our chat when we were talking about it the other day was like, claiming to be a trans woman who was concerned about like why are we teaching alt relationships to children? So I guess like just to clarify, like I'm sure all of us are in agreement about this, and probably most people in the audience are aware too, but like we're talking about, you know, at age 6 or whatever, you're teaching kids like about mommies and daddies and about families and about holding hands. You know, we're not talking about being sexually explicit with children. You know, little kids can grow their hair out or cut their hair as part of their expression, and it's totally like a normal and okay thing to do. And I guess like something I'm not sure about, and that I guess is a question that I would be interested in hearing if anybody has any feedback about it, although I understand if we're not going to be able to answer this question, because
No, go ahead.
The question is like, how do we actually get info to kids that age if it's being restricted from them? Like in the instance where like this bill gets passed and there's an 8-year-old little boy who hears someone, you know, using the F slur on the playground. So he learns that being gay is bad and he can get beat up for it. But how do we reach him and like make sure that his family and his school are not preventing him from being able to be his authentic self? You know, like we have this sort of online space. Like what do you do when those spaces are heavily curated because the child is 10 years old and like shouldn't be on Twitter legally for several more years? You know, like I don't know how to solve this issue.
We steal them. We just bust in the house and we take the.
We become the Fae.
Connect with your community.
Yeah, thank you.
Conservative spearmongering, protect the children. Leftists, I'll steal them.
Take them away.
Conservatives,
Community too soon.
are you trying to take a page from their book, Leftists? Out? Conservatives are like, take the children from their families. Their
Okay, bring up their own game.
Take children.
Take
Fight
children,
them.
like we're fighting fire with fire. Let's fucking go. We're doing it.
Authoritarianism for us, but not for you guys.
We're not going that low. We're not doing that. We're getting connected to community.
I think we should form a Fae council, okay?
Oh my god, a fake council. Let's fucking go.
And then replace all of
like
them with
that.
changelings.
I think that Lumi's right, and like the idea that if these communities are like well known within the area, that like the kid doesn't necessarily have to get all of their information from school. Like if there's like a strong LGBT community in their area, and they're like, "Hey mom, this kid like called me the F word or whatever, and I really didn't like it. Is there somewhere where we could go to where I could talk to somebody like maybe my own age or something like that? Like those resources existing within the community, I think would be like a good solution to that." Sorry, Lumi, you were gonna say something.
Smile is a
And then
great
Ash.
group in DC. And what they do is they actually do help LGBTQ kids that, and they're outside of schools, but I think that they might be like an after school thing you can attend. But they actually help them when their parents or the people around them aren't affirming. And how do you stick up for yourself? How do you like what information do these kids need to know, and really help those kids advocate for themselves, which I think is really, really powerful. But additionally, like I don't have kids like in the school system, and one of the things I'm thinking about is if you are someone with kids, you want to be, I think Josie was kind of, I don't know if you were getting at this, but you were pointing out the fact that they are creating, like conservatives are fighting in schools. And I think that we need to be empowering parents that have kids in schools, or if you are a parent that gives half a flying duck about the information kids can get, like this impacts you. Be out there, be fighting in the schools as well. And if you aren't someone who has kids, it's a lot as a parent. I look at the parents and I'm like, oh my God, you're working a job and you have kids. Are you okay? It seems like a lot. So like giving them the support where you can, I think is very important and powerful. I think those are a few directions you could go, but really I think it's about figuring out what you can do as an individual, what skills, what talents you have, and getting out in your communities and boosting whatever LGBT group you have. You don't have to create a new one or anything like that necessarily. Look what you have in your area. Just like go fucking Google it.
Someone in my chat recommended that we need to mobilize a religious left to counteract the religious right. And like liberal churches, synagogues, and sympathetic moderates could be bridging gaps.
Church of
Yeah.
the Flying Spaghetti Monster. I'm down.
I live in the
Yeah.
middle of. I live in the middle
Yes.
of. I used to live in the middle of conservative Alberta, and one of the ways that I saw a lot of social change was just the fact that a lot of the churches in the area were supportive of LGBT people. That was a lot of places where like a lot of adults would be exposed to an environment that they trust heavily, that's supportive of queer people. So that would actually like change their views. Like there are churches that in the area where I grew up, which is 80% conservative. This is how they vote, and they'd have the rainbow flag flying year round. So that stuff is so yeah, that's actually a good idea. But I also wanted to piggyback off of something that Lumi and I think Leftist was also saying, was that
Steal the
information.
children. No, I'm just kidding.
No, is that information and resources are super incredibly important, and that's actually something that me and Aaron Green are doing. We co-founded and are currently writing and setting up a website called the Trans Resource Curation Project. And like what you were saying with how parents are like very overwhelmed and such, so you want to have places that kids and just people can go in general to learn about this stuff. Our goal with TRCP is having a consolidated website that is just a centralized and accessible resource that can be for all things transition, for like groups for all these different local areas and all this kind of stuff, so that people can learn, and it's something that's easily accessible and something that that covers topics for everybody, for cis people who are confused about trans issues, and kids who want to learn more and how to like experiment and express yourself and stuff like that. So resources are super important, and that's actually something that I'm currently working on with Aaron Green, and I want to see that be like one centralized, because a lot of the problems is that with a lot of like specifically trans but queer stuff in general is that it's very fractionalized. A lot of resources are very spread out. They're not like interconnected, or they're very hard to find. So the goal with this TRCP is to have it all be in one place where it actually does cover literally everything in one place. You don't have to go searching for all the stuff that you need in 18 different places that take like 3 years to find.
Yeah.
Do you guys know of the museum of I forgot the full name of it, but there's a museum that's going to be erected. I also forgot where, but they're basically working on making a museum for LGBTQ history, and I think that would also be a great resource for queer kids to go to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I am in their Discord. I'll lob a link in this private Discord call, and if any of you want to look at it or broadcast it, yeah, it's supposed to be like an LGBTQ museum type thing, which is like, I think that their goal is to do literally historical documentation, but that type of thing is really cool. Also, just want to say I love that idea. Recently became friends with Aaron Green, very very cool tree person. I love the idea of this website being, you just like, you log on and it's like, I'm not transgender, like I'm transgender, I'm questioning, and there's just like three whole different fucking websites that takes you to basically
exactly
totally different info.
It's gonna have literally everything from like how to access HRT. It's gonna have like legislative trackers for anti-trans bills and the state of trans healthcare and policy in starting with Canada, America, but we're gonna expand when it gets bigger, and like how to like come out with your parents, how to move out, how to deal with abusive like. So this resource is gonna be so all encompassing. Y'all never even heard of it. I'm so excited to launch this with Aaron.
That sounds cool. So I will say this. A lot of these resources and things are absolutely critical and vital to the survival of our community. However, when everything is being shielded from children, the only thing we can do is walk and be trans and be visibly trans, because sometimes it's that representation that gives a child the opportunity to say, hey, wait, that person is like me. And that enough will give somebody hope, because as a kid in Texas that didn't have access to any resources, or was a whisper of a thought of what trans was, because it wasn't trans, it was a lot worse words, okay? All of the slurs that you could imagine, that's what trans was when I was introduced to it as a child. So there was no idea of any resources, but when I started seeing trans women in particular, because that's who I am, I was able to be like, wait, is this okay? Is this actually a thing? Are people like that? Visibility allowed my mind to explore, and that's why I think visibility is actually probably the most important thing that we can do, is stand up in the face of the hate and to move forward, because now it is, it's still hard to be trans, but it was much harder in the 60s. It was much harder in the 50s, even impossible, where even walking as trans would get you arrested or get you incarcerated or beaten or killed or worse, or not worse than killed, but killed, right? And those things actually did happen to people. Now, before I know we're coming up to the closing parts of this topic, but I did want to bring up one sinister thing about the Don't Say Gay bill that I think we're all not forgetting, but are unaware of. On my stream, we watched the entire judiciary hearing of the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida. We actually went and we watched it, the 3-hour hearing. And one of the questions that was asked, that was like mask off moment of the Don't Say Gay bill, that was like, there was two masks. There was one obviously homophobic, transphobic mask, and then there was like even a worse mask that came off. And what that was there was a question that one of the state representatives asked, and is like, hey, can we write an amendment to make sure that private schools and charter schools are also included in the statutory responsibilities of this Don't Say Gay bill? The person introducing the bill literally went ghost white and was like, we'll talk about that on the side. I'll explain to you on how this is going to work. And he's like, but can you add an amendment? And we're like, well, I'll talk to you about it. And what that is that they are using the ability for parents to sue school districts for people being taught queer things or LGBTQ things. So the school districts are then supposed to pay the parents legal fees so they can then sue, and then the district then pays out. The whole purpose of this bill is more than just not teaching queer kids school stuff, because of course the Republicans have more sinister things than just hate. There's power involved, and one of those things is they are trying to cash in the bloody token of trans and LGBT kids so they can defund the public school system, so they can continue to have private schools and charter schools reign supreme, because these schools that they support, these Republicans support, are not held to the same standard as the Don't Say Gay bill. So they don't care about the Don't Say Gay bill. They care about defunding public schools, because this bill is designed for parents to sue the crap out of these districts so they can't have the funding to continue to educate, so charter schools can take over.
So sorry, just to clarify, are you saying that private schools are exempt from this law?
Yes.
That's pretty fucked.
And charter schools, yeah. So they're doing that because they know that this is such a ridiculous law, and their whole purpose is to defund public education via the legal court system. That's what it is.
And there's a history of conservatives going after public schools, whether it's, the desegregation, etc. They want that to happen. So again, that's why I'm so glad you made this point, Josie. It's a very, very important one. And that's why, again, we need to get people in there fighting for the public schools, fighting to defend the public schools, and recognizing that as a public good, we need.
Luxander, did that answer your question?
I mean, I have ADHD and I sometimes forget the words that I just said, so sure.
Cool. All right. I'm glad that answered your question. Okay. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add on this topic before we go around and everybody can throw in their last 2 cents in the hat, or are you good? Feeling good? Okay. So we'll wrap up with this topic, and then we have one more topic that is tangentially related, so I'm sure it'll be a continuation at the very least. So final thoughts on the anti-trans legislation. Quick, maybe like minute, 2 minute, just a little wrap up before we go to the next question, and we'll go backwards this time. So we'll go Ash, Leftist Owl, Luxander, Lumiru, and then Josie.
Wait, I'm first?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Get it together. Come on, pay attention.
I want to reiterate that when it comes to a lot of these legislations and a lot of the stuff when it comes to schools and such, that the most important thing is going to be for example, reaching out to your representatives. Even if your representative is a big conservative or a big Republican, still reach out to them. Talking to your representatives, getting involved, going to PTA meetings, going to school board meetings, going to town halls, and specifically talking about trans stuff and advocating against a lot of these bills and advocating for trans policy that needs to get passed. I can't I can't overestimate how important that when we're facing all of these legislative challenges, that fighting back at the legislative level is super important. And when it comes down to what's the best thing that we can do to make sure that these bigoted bills don't get passed, it's making sure that Republicans don't have control of state legislatures. Like these bills would not pass if every state was majority Democrat. Now that's a pie in the sky dream, but we can try and fight for that. So stuff like that is just super important. It's just getting engaged at that legislative, at that school level, trying to influence curriculums and all that stuff. I just wanted to reiterate my support for that.
Beautiful. All right, Leftist Howell, it is your turn, my friend.
Yeah, and I agree with Ash. It's very important to fight back legislatively. I think also being able to fight for legislation that would protect trans people specifically, and also possibly referendums to like other anti-queer laws that are already on the books. I think that would go a long way to fighting our cause. And again, I reiterate, information is key. We have to be able to push people towards these like centralized hubs of information so that they get the right kind of information, and so the conservatives aren't controlling the narrative or the information on trans issues.
Beautiful. All right, Luxander, it is your turn, my friend.
I feel like I don't have like a lot of very specific roundup thoughts on this. Just that obviously like education and like Josie was saying, like visibility are going to be very important. I think it's important not to shield children from like the truth. So I don't know, like if you encounter children in your life, be honest with them about like how the world is, like I have like a 12-year-old nephew who I am an accomplice to him. I'm a youth accomplice. If he doesn't know what MILF means, I'm the uncle who's going to tell him that. So just, I guess, like be willing to like engage on the level that a child is willing to engage with you. Obviously, like don't like over serious something that can be casual. They're children. They can pretty much absorb the information and adapt quickly.
Based and true. Teach your tangential children about communism. Do it. I'm just kidding. Okay.
And MILFs.
MILFs and MILF communism. Not your MILF, our MILF.
Oh my god. So yeah, again, hammering that point that Luxander was just hammering, as well as Josie, like that visibility is really important, including, supporting the children in like their experiences and why this is important to them. Senator Tyler Pace, one of the Republicans, was moved by stories of trans youth. A lot of people are just getting really, really bad ideas of what trans people are, this fear-mongering, this absurdity. I almost became a TERF a long while back because I just simply did not understand who trans people were and heard some real bullshit. So it's really important that we know who trans people are. We are out there, and then my last point I really want to hammer is whatever communities you're in, do what you can do, whether that's speaking up against the little bit of bigotry you do see in your community, or going and supporting the LGBT group that is in your community. And if you can do more than that, incredible. We need allies here. This is not only a trans issue. Support the public schools, support your LGBTQ communities, and let's go. This is going to be a marathon, by the way, not a sprint. So also take care of yourself as time allows.
True.
Yeah.
True. Go ahead, Jesse.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up at the last moment as well, Luna. That one thing that I think goes understated a lot is that these constant bills, trans issues being in the media, the violence and the bigotry, headlines is hard on us as a community. And we should all take a second to think about like caring about our own communities and being like, hey, how are you doing about this? How are you feeling about this? These are very important questions if we ask ourselves and our own members that we are close to, because at the end of the day, when we talk about these things, we can't forget the reason why we're so outraged by these things is because of the suicidal ideation of our community, and especially our children, when they don't have support. With over 40% of our community has at some point in their lives attempted suicide, right? And we only have the numbers of the people who survived, right? So at the end of the day, that's why we fight so hard, because this is a matter of life and death. And that's why we get so angry, and that's why our heart is in it so deeply, because we see us under attack, and then we see that there's sinister parts of this, and how all of these people are just hateful power grab mongers. And we have to realize it could feel pretty bleak, it could feel pretty bad, but we cannot forget that when we are winning, it will always seem that the opposition is pulling ahead, because this is the last chance that they have to really push a lot of this bigoted stuff through. Because at the end of the day, the arc of history, I know I'm going to use, is long, but it will get to where it needs to be, and we are on the right side of history. And the thing that we can do as trans people is be role models to show ourselves as much as we can, and make sure, and this is the last thing I'll say is on this topic, is support your local representatives. Like, you need to vote. If you are in this audience right now and you have not voted before, I don't do that again. Like, I'm serious. Like, you need to vote. And when you go and, like, when you watch like the legislative stuff that was going down in Florida, and you see the Don't Say Gay bill make it out of committee on a 13-7 vote, what that tells me is that we need 7 people we need to vote out and get some more people in. We can get half of that, right? And if we were to do that, then we could have killed that bill right then and there. That's how important this legislative stuff is. So you need to find out which legislator is voting for it and who's voting against it. Find out the people who are running and vote for those people. President, sure, whatever. It's not that important when it comes to the actual local representatives that are supporting your community, because those are the people who are going to be fighting on the dais for you. And that's the person you have the most effect over. So what Ashley is saying is absolutely right, that this is where the rubber hits the road. And if you're not voting, then you are actively not supporting your community. I will just say that right now.
Lumi's gonna talk shit. Do it.
Do it.
Thank you. I was going to say, I want to add on to this point. And if you don't see someone in there that you're happy with and you can get involved, run for local offices. That is so important. It's not as difficult as you think it is. It does require privileges. It does require time, but we need more people running for local offices, especially if you look at Democrats and Republicans and you're not completely happy with the politicians that you're seeing. Get out there and run yourself. That's so important.
Also, just wanted to piggyback on the Josie's thing. Either support or accost your representatives as appropriate. Harass them in public. Thank you.
Rue.
Yes.
Nothing works better than embarrassing people who think that they're like micro celebrities in your community. They hate
That
it.
lady at the Starbucks, did we see that video this week?
Oh, I saw.
Bless
what a
her.
great video.
We love that.
I've
We're here
ran
for that.
for office twice, so if I can do it, all of you can do it. Okay, I'm not nobody. Y'all can do it. All right, let's do this.
Josie's big brain. We're all just plebs, and Josie is our queen. So, okay.
No. Okay, fine. I'll accept it.
Take it. Just take the fucking compliment, Josie. Okay.
Fine. I'll take the crown.
Thank you. Okay. So the next topic is kind of tangentially related, a little bit different of a question. So I was looking up a couple of topics when I was kind of preparing for this and sending out invites and stuff. And I came across a news story about a transgender teenager who was at a basketball game who was assaulted by other people of the opposite school who, for being trans. Like, it was a straight up just like, we don't like trans people, we're going to beat the shit out of you. Legal charges have been pressed against the people who assaulted the trans kid, but the school hasn't taken any action against the people who assaulted the kid. So the question that I wanted to ask is, what kind of role do you think that schools should play in like protecting transgender kids? And I think that we're all going to kind of agree on this. Obviously, I would hope so. Otherwise, we're going to have to say words. But within that, what are some ways that we can kind of, we've been talking a little bit about about legislation and stuff like this, how is this going to work in with like the anti-trans legislation bills? So like, for example, if you were in Florida and this had happened, but they're not allowed to talk about, you know, gay stuff or trans stuff, because this is such a targeted attack, what kind of liberty does the school have to say like, well, this was like obviously a bigoted attack against a trans person? If they're not allowed to talk about that, like, how does that fit in? I'm kind of curious about everybody's kind of overarching thoughts on like not only school's responsibility, but how this will also fit in with a lot of like the really scary legislation that we're seeing coming and being passed. Ash, go ahead. You put your hand up first.
So this is something I actually mentioned in the last thing, is that legislation is not just like bills. For example, here in Alberta, one of the biggest things that's been a political issue is the school curriculum. I'm now, I don't know what the case is in America because I'm a Canadian, I'm a Canuck. But here our legislature is they are the people who craft the curriculum. So not only contacting your representatives about bills, contacting them about the curriculum. The school curriculum is so important, and that's something that you can do. Seriously, the outrage here in Alberta over the school curriculum is likely one of the reasons why the Conservative government is not going to win. And if for all of you who don't know Alberta politics, with one exception, with 4 years exception, we have had a Conservative government for about 100 years, and the school curriculum is going to be one of the reasons why they likely don't get in again in 2023. So school curriculums are something that legislatures and state houses and senates, they do have an effect on. So not only just like contacting your representative about bills, contact them about curriculums. And also, if you are in school, like if you're in school, let's say you're a teenager, talk to your guidance counselor, talk to your staff, talk about getting GSA set up, talk about getting these support things set up, talk to the principal, convince them that these things are important. You have to talk to the people in power at the local level, because if you can do this at like a municipal level or at your school level, or if you can get on a student board, like I was on a student board and I talked about these issues. If you can talk to your like trustees and your student council, these are the people who have the actual power to change stuff for like immediately in your school. So that's what you want to talk about. And by the way, not to just promote my shit, but if you guys don't know how to contact a representative, I have a video on my channel specifically talking about how to effectively contact your representative. I'm specifically talking to my MLA, state senator equivalent, about crafting a trans healthcare bill here in Alberta. If you don't know, I highly recommend going watch that, or going to watch Dan Olson's Contacting Your Representatives video. They're incredibly helpful resources, and it'll help you get involved and help you understand way more about the whole process of that.
All the shilling, I just can't take it. I'm just kidding.
In
That's
the
really
US.
helpful. And I'm going to go on
No,
your
go
YouTube
for
really
it.
quick and grab that link and drop it, Ash, so people can find it if they want to. We'll go Luxander and then Jesse.
I'll put it in the Discord. You don't have to worry about it.
Oh,
I got it.
beautiful. Thank you.
I was just gonna give the USEN spin, I guess, on what Ash was saying, because like obviously like Ash is talking about what it's like in the Canada area, and like in Canada, apparently like I guess your curriculum is like consistent throughout the whole state. That's not really the case in the US. It's like school boards are like basically county by county. If you're lucky, it actually might even be smaller than that. It might be city by city. So I guess to that point, just re-emphasizing like not only the importance of getting in touch with representatives, but more so than that, showing your ass up at school board meetings.
Yes.
That's like
Oh my
the
God,
only
yes.
way. Yeah, that's the only way to like do this kind and like not just school board meetings, like city council meetings. Like, you know, you could have a say in whether yet a fucking another non-tax paying church gets built in your little town that needs a lot more tax dollars for the schools. Speaking of fucking schools and property tax, having an opinion about those things at the local level, very important.
And just to be clear, the people that do go to all those meetings are fucking conservatives. They're the old, crusty, like conservatives that live in your area. They're the ones that are going to these meetings and getting their shit passed because we don't go.
They're
So,
annoying.
absolutely.
They're annoying Karens, and you need to be at that
Yeah.
level. You need to be
Be a
prepared to
Karen.
be a
Group of
middle-class
friends and
white
fill up-
bitch.
True. You can take a group of friends and fill up a town hall for a day. You can literally take 5 or 6 people, and there you go. If all you're talking about at a town hall, all you're talking about at a county school board meeting, all you're talking about this is if they have to dedicate all their time to everyone talking about trans issues, then then that entire thing is just you getting your words in. Take a group of friends. Get a group of friends and get a phone call. Seriously, I can't overstate how important this stuff is. And you can do it. It's a great way. You can bond with other people. You can meet new people. Oh, there's so many ways you can do this. Oh my god.
Oh God. Okay. All right. I love all of your optimism. It's so nice and so useful. It gives me. It fills my heart. It
Good.
does. It does. Because because Josie's about to get the wet towel. Are you ready? Oh, geez. I am like a cynical optimist.
Everybody be
okay?
ready to boo on the count.
Yeah,
of 3.
boo me. Okay. So it doesn't matter who goes to those meetings in a sense because they already know the decisions that they make before they even walk in the room. Nobody changes their mind on the dais. It just doesn't happen. The people that are organized behind before the vote even happens are where the vote actually happens. So convincing those people before they get into the room, speaking into the void is good because it gives us like a good fanfare. It's like, look at all these trans people, they're so fucking pissed. Like, yes, let's do that. That's important. But the way that you change legislation is changing the structures that get those bad people into office. So for example, if this person has a donor, right, and this donor is like super anti-trans, or maybe this donor is actually pro-trans, you could be like, hey, how about you not donate to this person anymore? And that could actually cause a lot of change. Getting into those positions of power are more effective in the back rooms. And this is one of the things that going into the Josie time machine really quick. So 10 years ago, I started an organization called the San Diego Progressive Democratic Club. I started this organization because there was no representation inside of the Democratic County Party, and nobody could get in because they would go in and they'd be shouting and angry and everything like that, but nobody knew the structures of how to actually change the system within. And the protests were literally just people yelling and shouting at each other, and then nothing happened and nothing changed. It was always the same. The machine never moved. It was very demoralizing and discouraging. Organizational networks of being able to build those community organizations where it's just like, hey, we're going to build a community organization, like I say, Ash and Lux Alexander were saying, was the fact that if you were to create a network of trans people or people who are super jazzed up about trans issues and actually created a force where they actually had money to donate to candidates and actually had money to sway people's opinions, and then you go in and you're organized. So it's not just like people going into that room with angry about the trans issue. It's about going in with a unified message where everybody says the same thing over and over and over and over again. And then you have that ability to do that. It's a lot harder work, but it's definitely more impactful.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and something that I talk about in the video that I linked, and in the Dan Olson video, is that when you talk to representatives, this is your opportunity to put words in their mouth to change their vocabulary and change the way that they think about things just by phrasing. So if you have like an organized, if you have like a group of people who are all using the same phrases, not just sending like the copy paste the same email, but they're talking about the issues in the same way, they're using the same phrases, and you're organized and you're concise and you're unified, that's so much more effective. And so yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Wait, so in terms of
Lumi and then Leftist, if you wanted to get on it after that, because everybody else has said something so far, so go ahead.
Absolutely. I wanted to bring it back to the student that had been assaulted, because I know that legally people are responding, and I think that's, I was interested in like, okay, well, what do you think the school should be doing? I'm not sure how schools respond to this sort of thing. I know there was a bit of a message put out, like, this isn't what we stand for. And I think that's a start, because I think you can't be silent on something like this. It's almost condoning it. It's almost saying that's fine. And you do need to take a stand against hate and bigotry and name it. I think that's a good step. But for me, I'm like, okay, well, we hear this, like, I was reading through different articles and it was like, well, this kid, the most they'll get is like 10 years in prison. And I'm like, of course, okay, we all know they're not going to get 10 years in prison. And I wouldn't want that. But what I do want is a restorative justice. What does that look like? Do we want, like, what kind of response do you want on this? Because for me, we brainstormed a little bit in my chat, like, okay, how do we reduce the, like, this is an 18-year-old kid and another kid that's enacting hate on a group. How do we reduce the hate? How do we deal with, because this is going to be, I really do think we're going to see just a continued wave of this. I do think this is going to be a marathon of dealing with these this horrible legislation and these hate crimes that increase. How do we try to actually handle it in a way that's not just a revenge, but more of, how do we restore communities? How do we fight hate at the root? And so to me, we had like talked a little bit about, well, maybe some reparations to the person who experienced it themselves, maybe some work done with an LGBT community, not necessarily with LGBT people unless they personally volunteer knowing that this person had done this. Like, I would volunteer for that, but I know some people would just not want to be around that person, totally understandably. They were violent towards an LGBT person. So that they could learn from allies or LGBT people, because there is research that facing someone in a way that is like safe and not escalatory can help reduce bigotry. But again, we don't want to like put people in risk's way at all, ever. But doing some like community service with allies in an LGBT group to work on like dealing with that kind of hatred, as well as, you know, paying reparations back to that community. What other sorts of things would you like to see? What do you think is the school's responsibility? How would that be dealt with?
I think there's like a pretty big gap between like my initial reaction when this was first brought up was like, oh, obviously out of school suspension, like oh god, what's the word for when they kick them out of the school? Expulsion. Thank you. Like, that's my first reaction, is like, okay, well, a violent incident has occurred. Maybe I feel a little differently about it because I went to a magnet school where, like, if you got into a single fight, they literally would kick you out. There was no, like, in-school suspension, out-school, no, like, they just kicked you out. So that's, like fitting into the culture that we already live in. That's kind of, like, what the standard response is. And, like, there is a pretty significant gap between that and, like, so in the world that exists now, with the way that we currently treat kids who get in fights at school, at the very minimum, out of school suspension is what I would like to have seen. If not some kind of other penalty to their grades or something. Like, I think that kind of thing, like, I feel a sense that there should be negative repercussions for that person, right? And I'm acknowledging that that's not necessarily the correct way to think. Or, like, if it was a group of people, right? Like, kind of even worse if it was a group of you together, premeditation, whatever, like, leaving aside criminal penalties, right? I don't think that that's necessarily, like, something that needs to come in. But, like, there's a struggle, I think, for me personally at least, between the sense of, like, a wrong needs to be righted in that, like, I guess more, like, vengeful sense of, like, you, like, punitively you should be punished, versus, like, how do we restore? Like, I am so angry in this moment of imagining trying to carefully guide someone who did a hate crime against a trans person into being not the thing that they are, which is a bad word.
That makes sense. I think that makes total sense. And that's one of the struggles in implementing restorative justice. In my frustration, because we dealt with that. We had a community member when I suggested that said, like, why start here? And I'm like, I understand why you feel that way. But to me, restorative or transformative justice is not about being soft on that other person. It's about having meaningful change and dealing with this violence at the very root. So I agree with you. And in my mind, the penalty is, I think you should be doing reparations. You lose your time to this community that you have hurt because you hurt someone. And I think you need to look that hurt in the eye in the way that is most safe for that community, in the way that also teaches you the best way possible about that community and about not doing this again. I totally feel you on that though, 100%. And I don't want to act as if like it makes sense that marginalized, I know. So if it were me, I'd be like, that person needs to fuck all the way off. Like, nopers. But at the same time, how do we deal with this in a way that's going to work? And it seems like punitivity doesn't necessarily work. So that's my goal. And but I totally freaking hear you. It is a struggle.
Yeah,
I'm gonna let Leftist Owl go really quick because he's been waiting, and then we'll go to you, Ash.
Yeah, my gut response is fuck those kids, expel them, blacklist them, whatever.
Fuck them
But
kids.
I do understand Lumi's point in that doing that might not address the issue at its root and might just let their hate fester even more and possibly become even more stochastic or worse in nature. They could, beat up a trans person one day, get punitive action, and then next day get so mad that they kill a trans person. And I think preventing that is probably key in addressing this situation. I'm not sure what specifically you could do to have to have restorative justice done with that person, but I do agree that it's probably better to sort of nip the bigotry in the bud rather than just immediately socially ostracize them or completely punitively punish them.
Okay, so I'm gonna have a two-part response. The first part is I'm gonna talk about like my general approach to like justice and such, and then I'm gonna talk about what specifically I would like to see schools do in this situation. So the first thing is so I'm kind of a this is gonna be weird. I'm kind of a robot, so I approach conflict in a very weird way where it's like if a wrong has been done, it's like okay, like doing another wrong, like inflicting like harm on another person isn't going to actually go back in time and solve the issue. What we need to do, the best way that I approach problems like this is, okay, how do we prevent this from happening in the future? Because that's the main goal when it comes to our actions. Is we can't change the past. We can't make people who have been hurt unhurt. But what we can do is we can do our best to prevent hurt from happening in the future. So it's a very like restorative, and it's a very it's very much not punitive because from what I've seen, from all the data that I've seen on punitive justice and when it comes to like harsh sentences and harsh effects on life, that it doesn't actually change someone's character. It just makes their life worse. And it doesn't actually see them like improve or change. So with all that said, when it comes to what I want to see schools doing, well, like let's say for this case, like I guess like a gut reaction would be like anger. Like I want to see this out of school suspension. I want to see them expelled. I want to see their grades hurt. But when we think about someone who has the capacity for hate so much that they're going to assault someone on their identity, if we just expel them, or if we just give them out of school suspension, or we make their grades suffer, that's not going to teach them a lesson. Like that, like that's just they're not gonna become more sympathetic to trans people, at least in my view. So something that a school could do would be to get if queer students would like wanted to, if there's like a GSA, like for an in-school suspension, to actually sit down with this person and interrogate them and talk to them about their bigoted views and such like that. Like something like that would actually be that's something that Lumi said when it comes to punitive justice not being as effective, but when perpetrators have to actually sit down and face the victim and such, that tends to have a more positive result on future actions. And another thing, so I'm just going to use an example from my high school. My high school, in my grade 10 year, we had about 700 people. It was a rural high school, but we had about 500 people sign a petition to get rid of the gender-neutral bathrooms, just because gender-neutral bathrooms were trans people and trans people bad. 80% conservative riding, everybody. But one of the ways that I felt that our school could actually like to counter this like anti-trans sentiment, this uncomfortable with trans people, was to actually, get our GSA, and we had a non-binary teacher, and get like our teacher, for example, and some other kids to actually like sit and have conversations and talk about why like stuff like this is important, and actually making an emotional connection. Because I talked about this on stream a little bit ago when I had a debate with a Tim Pool fan, and I was talking about how reactionary and bigoted views don't come from a place of like evidence and logic and facts and all the memes. They come from irrationality. They come from emotions. So you can't so to actually like change this, you can't just inflict punishments on them. I feel like a better way to go about it would be to make an emotional connection to them. You see a lot of people who change their minds on trans people when or gay people when someone close to them comes out, or when the visibility. We've been talking about visibility all panel here, having that visibility to people who would do like bigoted things, like at schools, for example, would be super important. Like having them like Lumi mentioned, like community service. I think it was Lumi. But having like community service, and that community service be specifically working working on like LGBTQ issues, and working with queer people and such like that. I feel like these methods would be a better way than to just expel someone or send them to juvie, because as far as I've seen, these punitive actions don't actually change behavior a lot of the time, and it's easy to want to see that happen because we're angry that we see a lot of bigoted views coming towards us. But it's not at least in my experience and from the data I've seen and my personal experience solving conflict, because I end up being a mediator a lot in conflict and such, it's not actually a great way to change people's minds and get behavior to change, because that should be our main goal. We don't want to see people we want to minimize hurt, we want to minimize bigotry as best we can, and this punitive justice doesn't seem to do that all that well. I feel like I've demonstrated my point. Okay, if anyone has problems, please let me know.
That was
I don't have
all
problems.
wrong. Literally everything. No, I'm just kidding.
But I do have an idea. So how about
Please.
school responds via, okay, if they don't have an LGBT group, now we have an LGBT group.
Exactly,
And
they
you
gotta
are
volunteer
paying
for
the
it.
fines for the LGBT
Forced
group to start
feminization.
up.
I love it.
You gotta do the bake sale. You gotta make all
Send
the
them to the
muffins.
trans gulag.
They gotta do a bake sale for the LGBT community. They've gotta, all their cookies have to be rainbow.
Also, we're gonna force family and give you genders for you, so you understand.
Or if you hate trans people that much and they're like, hey, you hit a trans person, sorry, now you have to like be their personal butler for the day, they're gonna be like, oh fuck, that sucks, I'm definitely not
Yeah.
gonna do this again.
But yeah, that and also if you just spend time around trans people, you learn. We're normal ass people. Like if you I'm not just like a trans person. I play bass. I play hockey. I solve Rubik's cubes. I'm gonna have similar interests to people who are bigots, and I can bond with them over that and that emotional connection. Because again, bigotry and reactionary views are emotional, not logical. So if you make that emotional connection, that's a far better way to solve bigotry. At least in my experience.
I'm gonna throw it back and just say what Leftist Al said earlier. Just take them. Just take them.
Yeah,
them away
just
to the
take
trans
them
people.
away.
Take the kids.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
right,
Anyways,
Josie,
that's
I'm
gonna be
gonna-
flipped.
I'm gonna let you go, Josie, and then Ashton said something in chat that I wanted to throw in as like kind of like a follow-up question, and then we can start winding down and things like that. So start thinking of
Okay.
mean memes to say to me before you have to go. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I have plenty. They're always there. I don't-
I'm just gonna turn Josie down really quick for a second. We are going to continue talking about this because I have issues. Like when we get done with the panel, we're gonna keep talking about this because I have issues.
Say gay bill, and how does this affect these type of policies? So anti-bullying policy has been proven to show dramatic drops in bigoted hate type of bullying. At least in San Diego County, I've seen that over the last 10 years, that anti-bullying policy has been very effective in doing that, where you actually set out the rules and guidelines. You can't say these things, and that's
have a
really, really
question.
important. Yeah, go ahead.
What do you know what that policy entailed? Like, how did it work? If you know, if you just know the policy worked, then I'll have to look into it later.
We'll have to look into it later. But I do know for a fact what it is it trained teachers to look out for bullying. So it was part of training. So it's like, okay, these are the types of bullying that happens for sex or orientation, gender identity, and a lot of it was focused around queer identities. So first, it was able to teach the teachers and staff to see it right? To say, hey, this
Yeah.
is actually really bad and you shouldn't allow this. And it also trained the students in a program of like, hey, this is what we consider bullying at the school. If you are doing any of these things, these are the punishments that you will receive for doing these things, right? Because we have, they teach dress code in schools, they do all the student handbooks and things like that. But the bullying policy actually specifically lined out the code of conducts of how you treat people for their sexual orientation and gender and things like that. So we should talk about that at some point, Lumi, as well, because there's some really interesting stuff. And actually, San Diego's anti-bullying policy has been modeled across the country in different places, because San Diego is actually the 8th largest school district in the entire country. So it's like really, really huge. So, but with the Don't Say Gay bill, if a third grader is getting bullied by somebody calling them the F slur, for example, the teacher technically can't say, hey, you can't do that because being gay is okay, right? That hurts gay people. So automatically it creates a level of ability for the teacher to go, hey, by the way, your kid's saying that this word to these kids, and I can't tell them no. Can you please tell them why that's bad? And the parent's like, no, it's not bad, whatever. Then the teacher can't enforce those type of restrictions, which is extremely scary. So we're going to see an increase in these bullyings in younger grades, because teachers are going to be so afraid that if they say one word, they're going to get sued. Could you imagine the Karen of the bully that is going to then go to the school and say, I'm going to sue you because you told my kid that they can't make fun of this other kid for being gay? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's going to start happening, and that's one of the scariest things. So coming with the restorative justice and all of those type of things that are very, very important, but we have to make sure that we have the standards in place and the students know before that this is just unacceptable behavior, right?
Absolutely.
Assault and all of those things should already be known, but those things should be structured out and understanding. And I would love to bring up this other topic, because I'm actually dealing with a real world example right now in my professional life, where a person who is a Black faith leader in San Diego, who's a human rights commissioner, literally on the dais said that he wasn't supporting a bill and abstaining because he felt that being trans was an abomination in front of the eyes of God, with other trans people on that panel. And right now there is a movement to try to get this person removed from the panel, and which makes complete sense that they would remove him from the Human Rights Commission. However, the Black faith leaders are like, oh my gosh, the queers are after us, they're going to try to cancel us, and now it's always Black against the queer issues. And it's a very, very complex situation. So right now I'm actually dealing with the county of San Diego to set up this panel between queer trans people that are just like, hey, we exist, this is what we need to do to create a restorative circle. Because if we remove this Black faith leader from this council, then the other Black religious leaders of San Diego are going to turn around and tell their congregations that the queer people are after us. They don't care about Black rights and Black issues. So this is the way it's going to be. So it becomes a very sticky situation when you're talking about like leaders of organizations that have massive voices that can actually influence the people that they support. And sometimes that restorative justice is the best way to go, because if you just obliterate them and say you're gone, then there's no way for that person to be like, hey, I actually fucked up, and they actually told me why, and now I'm actually going to, I saw that I was wrong, and I don't think you should make this mistake either. And that could be more powerful in the fact of just saying like, remove them, get them out, even though they should, because they caused harm on people on the panel, like physical harm to people on the panel because of the words.
Yeah.
Ashley, you wanted to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say that while you were saying all that, and you're literally 100% right. While you were saying all that, I actually looked up the specific policies that you were talking about, because I know Lumi asked about that. And so when I was looking up specific San Diego anti-bullying policies, the specific policies and methods that work is having the school be very vocal about their anti-bullying, like sexual harassment and anti-bigotry policies regarding like queer people and racism and xenophobia and all that stuff. So it's being very vocal about it, like at school assemblies, having teachers talk about it, but also it's it's that when it comes to students, what it looked like the most effective policy when I was reading about it was that the school offered to these students to have a choice between disciplinary action, punitive action of school suspensions and expulsion, or restorative justice. So it's like, okay, you have done you have engaged in this bullying stuff. You can get expelled. We can expel you. We can give you a large out of school suspension, and this is going to affect your grades. Or you can involve yourself with this community service, this restorative justice, and it's all about promoting that as an alternative to the punitive justice. So like getting people involved in LGBT groups, like the stuff that we were talking about earlier. So I know Lumi was asking about that. So I like researched it, and I just wanted to like let you know what the policies were that was working. So there you go.
Thanks for dropping it.
I know
Luxander, did you have something you wanted to say? Yeah, I saw that. Lumi, do you two want to fight quickly?
Luxander, would you like to fight me?
I would love to fight you. No, I'm just kidding.
I would like to ask you one thing though. Do you prefer Luxander or is Lux okay?
I am ready to abandon this name. The only reason I have to keep it is because I have 7 years of branding affiliated with it. If you would like to be my friend, please call me Zephyr, because that's what
Zephyr.
I'm decided
Zephyr's
that
much
it's like a
anyway.
friends
Zephyr.
level.
It's a much
I'm
better
glad
name
I
anyway.
asked.
We're all
Okay,
getting
go
close
ahead.
now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, so Josie gave me an idea like 2 separate times in this, which is like, if you're going to be involved at that local level, you have like, sometimes there's person in the job who shouldn't be in the job, right? And you have to like wait until it's time to vote against them, and either you have to run or you have to support someone else. Here's something you should do. Guess what? You should become, like, be there at every single meeting, be there early, have coffee with everyone, learn all of their dirty secrets.
True.
Learn all the gossip. Destroy someone's reputation. If you're hot, have sex with them and ruin their reputation. Like, seriously? Fuck their shit up.
Blackmail the bigots.
Whoa, we are not using sex as a way to take people
That part was a
down.
joke. That part was a joke.
Blackmail is okay, but sexual blackmail is
I'm like,
crossing the
sexual
line. Okay?
It
liberation over
escalated.
here. No.
Normal
but-
blackmail is fine. Normal extortion.
Exactly.
Just not
See?
sexual extortion.
No, but like
Normal
interpersonally.
blackmail is-
If you
Interpersonally,
find out that this person, like, oh, this guy is cheating on his wife, guess what? I have pictures now. Like, I don't know, you know? Like, I'm just saying.
Yeah, and then
Is
and
this
then
euphoria?
Blackmail is morally neutral.
Oh,
Euphoria school board meetings. Who would have thought?
I was
Sorry,
gonna say
Lumi, go ahead.
one other thing about what Ash was saying, and then sorry, Lumi. I think
Yeah,
that
Lumi,
there's
shut
a
up.
distinction. There's a distinction between like trying to change someone's mind and trying to change their behavior. Sometimes I don't give a fuck about changing someone's mind. Like, I don't really need someone to accept my gender in order to just shut up about it forever. Like, cats are not capable of understanding negative reinforcement. You know, it's not physically possible for them. You have to like only give them positive reinforcement when they're not doing the thing you don't want them to do. Humans, though, can. It may be less effective in some instances, but I think like the most effective method is like a combination. Like I know you suggested a choice, Ash, between like, oh, we could do something punitive, or if you want to do something restorative, whatever. Like, I think that it's worthy to look at methods that maybe you do get an in-school suspension, and that's like the punitive aspect amongst something.
Yeah,
that is
exactly. You can combine the
dual,
two.
Yeah, dual approach.
I just wanted to.
That was
just
what I
wanted-
was going to clarify. I was going to say that is something in the policy. Is that what you were saying? I love that. I think that's awesome. Because I think that it even bolsters the restorative element, because I know it's not completely they're like, oh, I chose to do this, but I even think like giving them more choices. One of the problems I have with some of the conceptions I've been having of my own ideas of what could be possible transformative or restorative justice is you're like forcing them into it, and it keeps making me think of like, okay, when people are struggling with alcohol use disorder or drug related issues, and you catch them and you try to force them to go through programs to help them, like, who likes that? How effective is that really? And that's one of the things I was struggling with. And I'm like, I think that's better than punitivity, but I think having a few options that they can choose between it makes it a little bit better.
Like,
to an
I'm not
extent.
sure that
So
it
I think
wouldn't-
that's awesome.
It could engender more resentment if you force them to interact positively with the community. Like, I would almost be worried more about that in some instances.
No, I
Or-
absolutely agree. I hear you that way. And I think that having the options and even maybe a few, like a punitive and then a few restorative possibilities that would be open would be like 10 out of 10. Or like, okay, maybe like 7.8 out of 10 above the like 5 out of 10 we already were.
Our reptile brains really like those choices. Like, you can brush your teeth in 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and you're like, I control my own destiny, bitch. But
I
you're
can do it
still
in
brushing your
3.
teeth.
True.
Yeah, but you're still brushing your teeth anyway. Our reptile brains love that. So I wanted to throw in one more thing that Ashton brought up in the chat that I think is really important. And Ashton said the missing link that needs to be acknowledged is the complicity of adults in children and adolescents' behavior. And this is something that everybody kind of brought up briefly. But I kind of wanted to hit on this one thing before we start winding down and wrapping everything up. Is and this is something that I talk about a lot, and this is something that really frustrates me about legislation that is trying to get rid of the ability to have productive and responsible conversations about like gender and sex and like sexuality and all this other stuff in schools, is that there are like a decent amount of kids that will fall through the gap of like what is responsible interactions with other kids because their parents don't give a fuck or their parents are bigots themselves. So if you have a parent who is constantly like, trans people are, dumb and stupid and they shouldn't have rights and, it's an abomination and this, that, and the other thing, and this kid goes to school and like beats the shit out of a trans person, the parents are going to be like, good job, Timmy. That was fucking awesome. Excellent. I'm not going to get you in trouble. The school's not going to get you in trouble. They can't even talk to you about it. This is the perfect little bubble that I've created. So I'm curious what everybody thinks about Ron, what part did I miss? What are you talking about? Sorry. Anyway, continue. Go ahead. I'm not listening to Ron right now. I'm doing other
We
things.
need to flip the script and make transphobia child abuse and make it illegal. Let's go.
Oh, true. we have that in BC. I don't. Y'all remember that viral case where like the dad kept appealing to conservative outlets because there's a court injunction. Yeah, no, Canada based. But what I want to say for it's not when it comes to art stuff, it's not just, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier. It's not just like having to affect like curriculums and students. There's also ways that schools can affect teachers. For example, like schools send out newsletters all the time. You can send out newsletters that say, hey, encouraging this kind of belief in your kids is not acceptable. Stuff like that. And if they fight back, the schools can just say, yeah, cry about it, I guess. These are the policies at the school. There's nothing that these are not acceptable views for our children to have. But also when it comes to like changing adults' minds, or with like what Lux Zephyr was saying, to just making that behavior not as making it so that even if you don't change their mind, that they don't want to exude that transphobic behavior, there are places that adults go that we can affect too. Like I was saying earlier with the churches, like unironically, if you are religious and you are involved in like religious communities, getting your church to be supportive is actually something that's huge. I've seen it here in my communities. Having these places where adults go all the time and having them be supportive of queer people like explicitly, that helps. That kind of visibility helps. Another thing, just media. Like adults consume media just like kids consume media. There's a lot of the reasons why kids have higher rates of acceptance of queerness and higher rates of queerness in general is like a lot of kids shows like Steven Universe and She-Ra and Adventure Time are just fully embracing queer people, and having that media visibility for adults would absolutely do the same. Imagine if like someone's favorite like an adult's like favorite show, their favorite director comes out with a movie that just has a trans character in it, stuff like that. So that's also good. That's all. So those are all the other ways that we can affect parents.
Oh, did my audio just die? Oh,
No,
okay.
I'm still muted for
okay,
a second, but cut off my last word. I didn't have anything more to say.
Okay, I was like, I think that my headphones just shut out. Anybody else want to tack on to the end of that? Feeling good? Feeling cash money? Feeling swag? 420 blaze it? All right, I love that.
Feeling
Perfect.
I
gay.
have weed right there.
Doing gay weed. I love it. Gay criminal weed. Perfect. Okay.
Always.
Hey, I'm in Canada, baby.
It's legal where I am too, but I mean, it's still federally illegal in America, so technically it's always criminal, technically speaking.
That just makes it more based.
True. I love that. Okay.
Be gay,
so
do crimes.
Be gay, do crimes. Okay, we're coming up at about an hour and a half, which is perfect, and I can release everybody into the Ethereum of their afternoons. So we'll do kind of final thoughts, wrapping it up, shout yourself out, all that good stuff. You can also insult me or compliment me, whichever you prefer, or neither. You know, it's your choice. Freedom of speech, whatever. You know what I'm saying. So we'll go. We went forward, backwards. We'll go forward again. So we'll go Josie, Lumi, Luxander, Owl, and then Ash.
Okay. Malcolm is a coward and doesn't want to debate me on vegan issues.
Josie, I was literally in
I'll do it.
California, and you bitched out. Okay, so I was literally in California. I don't want to hear it.
I'll debate you on vegan issues.
Josie, fucking crush him, please.
I will.
Crush
Hey,
me,
I will.
Malcolm, come to DC when Josie does, so I can moderate the debate.
Oh, that's
Oh my
right.
god,
worry,
and
I'm
I'll
not a
bring
coward. I'll talk to
vegan
anybody.
cookies.
Yeah.
Yes, let's
Yeah, let's
go.
Okay.
Now the event happens. Oh, it's
Okay,
happened.
somebody set it up.
Okay.
Somebody set
All
it up.
right.
We'll make it happen.
Okay. Malcolm, thank you for setting up this panel. I really appreciate that you set up panels that are inclusive to trans people. I think we need to do this more often as we can. But I know you're busy and lazy, so
Lazy, mostly.
just kidding. No, you don't understand. Me and Malcolm have this relationship where it's very
just hate
sweet,
each other.
but
It's
also very sharp.
Okay, listen, you gotta crush Malcolm. I gotta act surprised and then bring cookies, okay?
Okay, there you go.
We'll make it
Fair
happen.
enough.
We'll make it happen.
Fair enough. But no, I think this is important. These conversations went in really good directions. I really like that we really spanned a lot of from the overarching legislative issues to the very micro individual issues of trying to actually make people better, and it's really great. And what I love about these debates, especially with a bunch of not debates but panels with a bunch of trans people, is we don't talk about silly things that actually don't matter. Like, we all just know that this is harmful. We all just know that this is going to be detrimental to the progression of human rights as a whole. So when we talk about these things, we're talking about how to materially make things better for our communities, and I think that's very powerful conversation. So I really like that. So I'm Josie Rose C. You can follow me on Twitter. That's twitter.tv/Josie Rose C. You can also follow me on my
Twitter.tv.
Discord. Yeah, I know, right? Discord.gg loveness. And yeah, you can come and hang out, and we have a lot of fun here, and we do panels like these and all kinds of different things. So have fun. Thank you for being here, being cozy.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to vibe. And also, like you said, that we kind of just move past all the semantic bullshit and everything. Next time, I think that we should do a filibuster for about 30 minutes where everybody has to justify their existence to me. Otherwise, I'm kicking you off the panel. We'll do
Oh,
it.
great.
Just to
I
keep
love
it-
that. I love arguing about definitions.
Not-
forever and
Sounds
ever and ever.
amazing.
Not their gendered
back to health
existence,
thread.
just their
Yeah.
existence. Period.
Just
That's
to-
true.
it's-
No, I just don't
Why-
think you exist.
Cookies,
You're a
I already
hologram. You're not
win.
real.
Why should I not come and fight you right now? Like, why should I?
Because I'm a hologram. I'm a robot. You can't win. You can't beat a robot hologram.
Now on
Yes.
that one, I have no response to.
Okay.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Come fuck me up. Anyway, I'm Lumi Roo. Thank you so much for having me, Malcolm. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm gonna second Josie on the bringing trans people to have together to have these discussions. I was so excited when I saw Malcolm was going to be pulling us together. I wanted to be doing something like this, but apparently I'm
Hashtag
lazier
stolen.
than Malcolm.
That's a fucking low bar, Lumi. I'm sorry. That's a low fucking bar. Pick it up.
So yeah, I'm Lumi Roo. You can find me at twitch.tv/Lumi Roo. I'm on Twitter, Instagram. If you add the LUV after Lumi Roo. I also have a YouTube where I post my own panels occasionally, once in a blue moon and other things. And I just really, really appreciated coming together and having conversations. Thank you for having the chat on, representation, restorative justice, what we can be doing in our communities and all the different ways we can support people. And this made me so happy and so hopeful in a dark time. So thank you. Have a lovely evening, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by, my friend. I appreciate your time. Luxander, you can go, my friend.
I, like everyone so far, am just so deeply appreciative of this space existing. I am very bad at forming social connections, so having an opportunity to just kind of have like a lowish pressure group chat. I stream for social reasons a lot of the time, so it's just real cool, and I like having conversations with people and making friends. I'm not going to be able to hold my press to talk at the same time, but I am going to show you all my cat, whose name is Lucifer, who recently had a seizure but is doing fine now.
Aww, cutie.
Ah, baby.
Okay, that's all.
Baby.
Oh, my name is
Beautiful.
Luxander. I'm on YouTube. I see a bunch of people followed me on Twitch today. You're going to be real disappointed because I don't stream there anymore.
I love that. All right, just call them out. I love it. I love it. And thank you again for your time. Yeah, we'll all drop your links for you. No worries, no worries. And thanks for taking time out of your day for coming to hang out and vibe. I appreciate it very much. All right, Left of Salad, it is your turn, my friend.
Yeah, so I think schools should do everything in their power to be able to protect trans kids and to further educate people on LGBTQ issues, as well as maintain a certain level of a non-toxic environment for trans people and other LGBTQ people to exist. I'm the leftist style. I do political streams, gaming streams. I do media analysis. Again, I do an interview series called Voices of Pride, where I interview people in the LGBTQ community. So if you're LGBTQ, hit me up, and we can probably set something up. And thank you for having me here, Malcolm.
Of course. I'm happy to finally do a panel that you can actually be on, because I always do like trans masculine panels. And so finally, after so long. All right, Ash, it is your turn.
Hey, I'm actually Jubilee. I'm so grateful that I got to that Malcolm texted me 5 minutes before this whole thing, because this was awesome. This panel was so much fun. I literally hope I get to talk to each and every one of you again at later times, and we get to talk about stuff, because this was literally some of the most fun I've ever had. Thank you so much. I'm very glad to have finally met most of you. And Malcolm, thank you so much for coming on. My insult for you though is I would beat you in a fight. I'm sorry.
We'll have to see.
I played B tier hockey. I played B level hockey. Like there's
I did
no
martial
chance.
arts for 13 years. Let's fucking go.
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
No, listen. My teams have gotten repeatedly kicked out of leagues. I think we're on even playing ground.
We'll have to see. We'll schedule it.
But yeah, no, so my name's Ashley Jubilee. You can find me on Twitter, Ash Jubilee, or on YouTube and Twitch. Go look at me. I do Canadian political content. I play a lot of Overwatch. I play a lot of games. I do NHL hockey analysis for any of you guys who are interested in hockey. I do weekly media analysis and watch parties on my Discord. And again, I really hope to see you all on Saturday this weekend. We're doing a 24-hour charity stream for Texas Trans Kids and the Texas ACLU. I'm going to play Elden Ring. I've never played a Souls-like in my life. I've never even played a game that's like a Souls-like. So this is going to be.
I'm going to keep streaming afterward.
Played a game like Elden Ring. Try and play it for like 30 hours straight. So I hope to see y'all there.
True suffer.
And
If you need help, just let me know. I can co-op in.
I absolutely need help, please. But I will suffer. We're still ironing out the details, but we'll get like announcement videos out tomorrow, so everything should be all that. So I hope to see y'all there. If y'all want to like come on stream, just like give me a DM. And yeah, thank you again so much for those opportunities. It's so much fun.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I want to say one more thing really quickly.
Talk more shit.
If I won't, not this time. I'm going to say some other things. So if you are trans or questioning or non-binary or gender fluid or any of those things, please go and pledge to take the U.S. Trans Survey at ustranssurvey.org. It is not if you're Canadian. You have to be a U.S. resident. Unless you're residing in the U.S., you can be Canadian then. That's okay. We accept Canadians if you're residing in the United States or its territories.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is very, very, very critical. It is especially now with the data set that we need in particular because of all the attacks that we're under. This data set is going to be critical for fighting for trans rights in the future. As you know, I'm sure a lot of you know of the U.S. Trans Survey back in 2015. Well, we're doing the 2020 version, and it's super exciting, and it's going to be super based. I'm really excited for it. So please pledge and for the survey. And I know Malcolm's chat, you have a little bot.
I do. I have a command for it, so I made sure to drop it, and I will put it in the video link as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
So if I could just get one final word because you reminded me. You just reminded me of the TRCP. The Trans Resource Curation Project is going to be a big centralized resource for all things trans, co-founded by me and Aaron Green. If you want to support that, go donate to me. It's up to me on Twitch. It's literally going to be the greatest trans resource ever created. It's going to have stuff like like surveys and studies and legislation trackers and guides on how to get your name changed and how to get healthcare and healthcare policies. It's literally going to be amazing. So please support and watch out for that. That's going to be coming hopefully this year. We're going to hopefully get the website launched this year. So so more exciting things coming up.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, everybody, for taking time out of your Lord's Day to come and talk shit with me. I appreciate it greatly. A special thank you to Ash for literally coming here 5 minutes prior. I really appreciate your
Always.
flexibility. Very wonderful, very wonderful. For everybody, I'm Malcolm. God damn it, Malcolm, on everything. I do trans masculine panels every Sunday, and I'm planning on doing all trans everything panels the last Sunday of every month. Yeah, I do all of my recruiting in Discord. If you want to participate, just send me a DM. My DMs on Twitter are open and stuff like that, and I have an ongoing list of people that I want to have on. So just hit me up, bang my line, and we'll make it happen. I hope that all of you have a beautiful rest of your day, and thank you again so much for your time, and I appreciated everybody's perspectives and company and all that other good stuff, and I will release you all now. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
And just remember, everyone, if you don't follow any of us, you're transphobic.
True.
Yeah.
True.
If you don't follow all of us, you're transphobic.
True.
You know what? If you don't follow me, you're not transphobic. But if you do follow me, you are very gay.
That's
and
true.
that is incredible.
I'm a noted. I'm a state registered homosexual. I
True.
follow Lumi Roll on Twitter.
I subscribe to Lumi. That's how gay I am.
That's
Ooh,
Ultimate gay.
Yeah.
ultimate gay. All right, everyone, have a good one.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Oh my gosh. I am not going to quit streaming just yet. Don't leave. Don't leave. Don't leave. If you like seeing me stream, you can still hang out. I'm not done for the day. Yet. I'm pretty sure. No, I still have energy to keep going. I'm definitely good. I don't know how many messages got held while I was not looking at you all. Sorry. So yes, hello. How is everyone? I know that we didn't have time before. I was planning on having time before. I just ended up doing stuff with the apartment moving shit. Camera. I got the new camera. I've been, like, I keep being like, this is the hold on. Hold on. We'll give us a quick second. Give us a quick second. Okay. I don't have chat over here, so I guess I just erased the chat, unfortunately. But this is the camera I've been using. This is the webcam. And I have the real camera now. This is the high-quality camera. But I also, I need to, like, go over here to the screen and fiddle with things and mess with the white balance and the exposure and all this stuff. I noticed that mine was a lot more, like, blue than the other people in the panel. Like, the other people in the panel were, like, their skin was a little yellower. So, clearly I don't have everything, like, figured out yet. We'll have to take some time during stream one of these times to have you give me feedback about it and how it's gonna go. That was super enjoyable. I had a really good time on that stream. I think that I've been in a group setting with Lumiru before, but not one in which we actually were able to, like, really dialogue that much. Like, the last time I was on a panel or anything with Lumiru was, like, the Surfs doing a fundraising thing, and so it was, I was just, like, on my, like, earbud doing the dishes, you know? Like, it was not cold color. Yeah, I don't really want it to be, like, a super cold color palette, but it's also not letting me adjust the white balance right now for some reason. It's, like, grayed out, even though it wasn't before, so I'll have to mess with this and figure it out. But, yeah, I mean, so this is, we've got the angles correct now. This is what the angles are going to be like. I'm really enthused about that. I've got several new subscribers on YouTube, so that's quite exciting. I had a really good time on that panel. I didn't know everyone there. I hadn't met Josie before. I hadn't met Ash before. I knew everyone else though, so I don't really know Lumiru well, but we've talked before a little bit, like on Twitter, and obviously, goddammit, Malcolm invited me, so I know him. And Leftist Owl has been. I just like came across Leftist Owl in Demon Mama's community, and also they were in my stream one time. It so happened that this person who I think is primarily a chatter is someone who I'm like, oh, you're my friend now, I guess. As bad as I am at it, I do just spontaneously go like, oh, we're friends now. But yeah, so that was really fun. I enjoyed it. It was a little bit weird navigating having, like, I don't want to, like, I saw other people do it, and I know, like, Vosh does this. He'll, like, talk to you while the stream is happening, and I'm like, I would necessarily have to be talking over someone, and for me, that's kind of like wearing a speech jammer on your head, you know? But I'm gonna have to figure it out. I guess I'm gonna figure it out, you know? I was planning on streaming afterward, but seems like interest is quickly dwindling. In any case, I was planning on staying on and talking about it for a little while and kind of decompressing and saying hello. Although I do have some other work to do today. I did want to chat and chill with you. I saw CJ in the chat earlier. Don't know if CJ is still here. But, you know, could potentially have some. I have a pet chud, I guess, is the answer about that. Organizing resistance was much faster than getting new people in office. Hey, Rena. Yeah. Do you change the stream? Can you change the stream title midway? Luxander, how about, like, Luxander decompresses after the panel? Does that work? Ooh, the Traveler's System. Welcome. I'm glad that you all enjoyed. Yeah, I have not done that kind of stuff before. It was really interesting getting some different perspectives. I found myself having some resistance to some of the ideas that were being put forth. Like, I don't know. But that's good. That's good. I like having my worldview challenged. I like noticing those tensions in my worldview, and like, I want to resolve those tensions, so that's really awesome. Like, yeah, Lumi and Ash both have, like, a really restorative view. And I'm not saying I don't have a restorative view. You know, I don't want to say, like, I think that you shouldn't have a restorative view or anything like that. Just that there is tension between the sense that a wrong needs to be righted, you know? Like, you know, it's like if you were a parent. I think that the way that I feel about trans kids in general is the way that parents feel about their children. Like, I don't know if that's what justice is. Like, the word justice has different meanings, right? So, like, is it just, like, if someone punches me and then I punch them back, has justice been done? Frankly, I think that justice should be flexible to an extent. And I don't know how well this is a thought that I'm kind of just having for the first time, so I'm willing to examine it. But, like, if someone punches me and I punch them, the question, has justice been done, I think relies somewhat on whether I feel that the matter is closed by that action. Now, that's not really a good way to run a state. Things have to be a lot more, like, they can't be so vibes-based, but, like, it depends on the offense and how much harm has been done. Yeah, I agree. But, like, if I punch them back and I feel the matter is closed, technically, I've gotten revenge. But is that just? Is that justice? You know? Yeah, I'm not saying that it should be necessarily, but yeah, like I just I think there is something to be said that the punitive system often makes people feel as though the action that has been taken has not been significant enough. You know, like if your rapist gets 0 jail time, has justice been done? According to this system, can you participate as a U.S. citizen abroad? I would assume, and I would like to think that you should. And there's a consideration of if you don't punch them back, will they continue to punch you? Yeah. If they punch you and you explain and you start crying and you say, "Oh my God, that hurt so bad," like you should look at the way that I feel now about what you've done to me. Like, that seems like a really good way to get them to do it again. Because you've just taught them that they've achieved their goal. Their goal was to hurt you by punching you. No shit. So, what do you think appealing to their empathy is going to do? What do you think it's going to accomplish? I think that that's, frankly, a little bit naive. You know, like, and like, Ash was the one who was really sort of putting that idea forth, and I think that she said that she was probably the youngest person there, and I can see that. It's the kind of, optimism that you can have when you're young. You know? Before you've witnessed people engage in cruelty for cruelty's sake. On a larger scale, an eye for an eye isn't a good thing. It invites escalation. Yeah, I'm not necessarily advocating for it, right? Like, I get, and you know, I appreciate you all participating in the conversation. We're just kind of trying to exercise like hypotheticals, like what would work, what wouldn't work, what do we think would happen, what do we not think would happen. And chat finding out that Zephyr ain't afraid to hit a fool. I'm just feeling spicy today. I've been pretty angry, so it's an interesting zone to be in when you're like ready to have a panel with people who you want to have a good relationship with. Just like realizing like, oh shit, I'm really angry, actually. I'm getting like annoyed and I don't need to be. Restorative fails a little for the victim versus the greater good. Yeah, you have to balance those things. When I was in school, unfortunately, in the 70s and 80s, I had to punch a lot of people in order to remain safe. Justice was not a consideration. Safety was my concern. Yeah, that's another good thing to point out as well. Like, as I said during that panel and on our stream the other day when we were talking about the Texas trans law and everything, sometimes you get hurt and you have to get hurt before the system will engage. There are, like Rebecca Watson, who is a feminist, atheist, activist person who I've known for a really long time. She has talked about how... Oh shit, my brain just fucking flushed. I hate when that happens. Shit, where was I? I hate when that happens. I probably need to step away and drink some water and then come back and continue, because that's like 2 hours without a break, and normally I take a break. Yeah, the ADHD flushes things out. Why was I bringing up Rebecca? It's fine, whatever. Yeah, coming back to the empathy problem, I don't know how you're gonna... Oh, Rebecca Watson. Yes, the safety and the law happening first. Rebecca was like, I am going to be, like, I have a stalker who says that they're going to be at this event kind of thing. And the cops are like, okay, why don't you let us know after something happens? They literally will not take preemptive action. They literally won't. So, like harms necessary. That's not something I've never. Okay, hold on. The punitive system, the justice system as it is, requires harm. In order to take any action, our justice system requires that a harm be done. It does not take preventative action in most cases to prevent harm. If a kid's getting yelled at and the parent is like throwing stuff around the room, they won't necessarily take action. The kid has to get hurt first before someone will come in and take the kid away, you know? Like, and if you're me, sometimes you can get hurt as a kid and have there be proof and still get put back with that parent after a very cursory investigation is done. So frankly, a lot of this has to do with generally like children not having very many rights. Also, justice is always arbitrary to a degree, and justice needs to be arbitrary in a degree in order to be flexible enough to accommodate everyone affected. Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying, Neurotic Anarchy. Like, I don't think it necessarily being cookie cutter the same every time. Zephyr Reacts to Justice Part 1. Maybe. I mean, I don't remember that one being something that I had particular issues with. You know? Although everyone seems determined that I should make Natalie into my lolcow. I don't want to do that. Yes, prevention doesn't exist. So yeah, I had a good number of thoughts during that stream. Very interesting conversations. I would like to continue having them. However, I do need to take a very short break. I need to refill my water, visit the restroom. It's been 2 hours, so yeah. Again, sorry for the like awkward start to the stream. I was like, I cannot talk to stream while I'm listening to people talk in this private call because I don't think it's gone live yet, and I know that you all could hear about it for a second. Like, I know I didn't have the sound off initially, so that was my bad. Alright, I'm gonna step away. We'll be back shortly. Eventually, I'm gonna get an image that'll show up here that'll be like, we taking a short break, we'll be back in a minute. Taking a short break, back in a minute. Yeah, I'll be right back. Yeah, time's a thing, right? Whoa. I'm just gonna put my water cup down, and then I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'll be right back, okay? We'll be right back. We'll be right back. Going to the bathroom. goodness gracious. My Twitter notifications are a little bit cray-cray right now. I was wondering why Gayfish was talking to me earlier. Okay. How do I feel about ASMR? Fine. No particular opinions, TBH. Not something I seek out. Fine when it happens. I guess like videos that I've purposefully sought out ASMR wise were like funny, like not earnest videos, you know, like the 10-minute power hour ASMR. There is no justice, only the law. Make the law better. Yeah. Or pull like a little finger, like there's no justice in the world but what we make. 1 hour later. Oh, Asbiel, you're just getting here. Oh, thank you, Mersh. I have been very studiously choosing objects to go on that background area. So this is a work in progress right now, this top part, because we are approaching Ostara. Actually, so here's I didn't cut off all the errant strings, so please ignore all the errant strings, but yesterday I crocheted this daffodil. So like obviously you wouldn't have all this shit like dangling off of it, but also like this doesn't, like it's just not very good. I used the first one that I made, so, but there's this one which is a lot better and Luxander. So some more of these are gonna, different flowers and stuff are gonna go over there, like, you know, that'll be like, oh, it goes like on the wreath or whatever, you know. Thank you, Mersh. Someone taught me how to do crochet when I was like 12 or maybe younger. So the basic skill was programmed into me. It was uploaded into my brain a la The Matrix. You know, it was a training program. Not so much something that I take specific credit for. And then the reason that my stitches are so even is because I just realized that I was about to really make something casual that shouldn't be made casual that way. I was under a lot of pressure as a child to perform. So I don't do things that I don't feel I will be good at. Show me exactly. I love that you both had the same joke. Oh my god, that's fucking hilarious. I love that. Yeah. Let me just bust it out and smack the fucking pop filter. I'm really losing my patience about the microphone situation, honestly. Like, a friend of mine said that they would send me their old one, and it's been like probably a year now since we first had this conversation. And then I was like, well, we don't really talk that often, like maybe they don't even plan on doing it anymore. But then they keep bringing it up. Hey, Comrade Anthony, what's up? Yeah, so they keep bringing it up. If they hadn't kept bringing it up, I would have just fucking bought a microphone by now. It's getting very irritating. Just like, I don't like it when people offer help and then don't follow through. It's like, well, I don't need your help. I can do it. One singular brain cell. Yes. We all share one singular brain cell. Absolutely. I didn't have anything else planned for today. I wasn't actually sure how long I was going to go after the stream, because I feel like I managed to get most of my thoughts out. When I said to you during the panel, like, oh, I'm going to continue afterwards because I have some stuff to say, I did manage to squeeze in most of it, either during the panel, or we've already talked about it now. Because I do genuinely think, like, negative reinforcement can be effective. There are ways in which it may be less effective than positive reinforcement, but if both can work, and I'm not talking, like, anything extreme as far as negative reinforcement goes. You know, we're not talking, like, prison for life or physical harm necessarily, you know? You were learning Okinawan Goju Ryu in order to punch classmates effectively. Quite nice. I did do some martial arts stuff when I was younger, but, like, not long enough, really, to get very far with it, if we're being honest. Our brain cell, true. Yeah, I learned how to crochet, but that's, like, all. I can't knit. I tried. It didn't go very well. Everything was too tight. Well, partially because I was trying to teach myself how to do that, rather than, like, someone showed me how to crochet. You know, this isn't really. It's funny. I don't really think about how small these are, but then I'm looking at it and it's in my hand, and I'm like, wow. And this is a 3.75 millimeter. I want to show you all this. Okay, so I'll show you, like, the biggest crochet needle I have, crochet hook that I have, and the smallest. Okay. Where is the biggest one that I have? Is the 10 gonna be the biggest? No, I have an 11. Oh, an 11.5, no less. This is the biggest crochet hook that I have. This is for really chunky yarn. Like, actually, this might be. It might not be. This is more of a 10 or a 9 maybe. But you use big chunky yarn for those. And then my smallest crochet hook. Yes, thank you for being here, Emily. I am on YouTube. I don't stream on Twitch, if that's where your confusion lies. I was streaming on Twitch for a little bit, but it seems like, well, first of all, I was planning on dual streaming. I was planning on being live on both platforms at the same time, and if you're partnered with Twitch, you're not allowed to do that. And also the restrictions on Twitch for what you can say and everything are much more restricted than YouTube, and I already feel pretty restricted on YouTube. This is my smallest crochet hook. So this is, you know, this is what they look like, you know? You get the basic idea. And then this is, let's see if we can get this to even focus. Yeah, you can see, tiny little hook. That's for, like, thread. They kind of do look like probes a little bit, huh? But yeah, that's for doing, like, micro crochet. Which I've done a little bit of. Actually, where? I'm not sure where it's at right now. Made a tiny little rose. It's pretty cute. I'm not sure where any of my shit is, for being honest. Can't knit to save a life. We're blind and have no eyes. Oh, wow, yeah. That would definitely be a hindrance. Because I do rely on my sight quite a bit to crochet. All that kind of stuff. Started learning crochet 3 weeks ago, and it's so hard, both to physically do it, but also to not judge myself when it inevitably goes wrong. Yeah. I mean, I guess the suggestion that I would make is find some way to count your rows and or count your stitches, you know? Because that's going to be the thing. Or do projects that don't require you to count your stitches. Because one of the things you can do is, like, you can count them afterwards. You can count them, like, you can just, oh, I'm doing the row, and then I got to seeming like the end of the row, and then I'm not sure where I am. You know, you can just walk it back instead of having to keep count, because that's different. Leftist Owl! It was so good talking to you, too. I'm glad that we had the opportunity to do that. Again, I would like to talk to you in general. Otherwise, I'm just not good at reaching out and coming up with what to talk about. So, in that regard, like, it's much easier when someone else comes up with the idea for what we're going to talk about. I'm going to try not to spill water all over my desk. I almost did, but because the jar is bottom center of gravity, low center of gravity, keeps me from spilling shit all over my desk. Missed the panel, super excited to see it later. It's gonna be good to see it later. What compliment words do you like? I don't y'all, I've been like married for a really long time. I don't really think about like the best way to receive compliments from strangers. I think cute is like always applies, you know? Yeah, maybe I should just have more like, hey, we're gonna shoot the shit tonight kind of streams too. I'm trying to come up with like a schedule of when to do things. Oh, you've associated mason jars with turpentine. Yeah. I mean, I like them because I like this one in particular because it's wide and short, and they can stay in the location that you put them. Recommend Ephemeral Rift, ASMR comedy. Okay, that's interesting. Feelings on neutral terms for relatives of nephews, nibblings, nieces. Pibbling is the one I've seen. There isn't a good... I mean, pibbling is pretty good. Pibbling only makes sense in context of nibbling, so, like... Because otherwise, like, that has no root to me. There's no... Like, what is that a reference to, you know? It's tough because there's, like... Because aunt and uncle are like pretty different words. I called myself uncle during the panel there. There's not really a good one. You know, like I've seen people use like Zaza. I don't think that Zaza is a good one to use for children because that's so difficult. Z's are difficult. Oh, parent, sibling. I guess. Like, once you say that, that makes sense. But it's also tricky because we don't use the word sibling enough. We don't use the word sibling quite enough. To have that be, you know, so normalized. Like, it's so often that people are like, what's, like, a gender-neutral word for, like, brother or sister? Like, sibling. Like, oh, we just don't use it. Zaza just became Wawa, or just becomes Wawa. Yeah, that could be cute. I am realizing in this moment that we share right now that I had a really rough week. I didn't realize it until just, I mean, I've been, you know, it's been a really rough week actually. So it's nice to hang out with people on a panel, like people who are gonna be nice and like welcoming. That always feels good. Between Ukraine and all this anti-trans stuff, anti-gay stuff going on in my personal life, you know. Altogether, like, I'm just realizing that I'm quite sad and tired. Which is interesting, having had so much energy, like, just a half an hour ago. I was so maybe that's part of why I'm crashing, is because I was a little bit fired up earlier. Yeah. I hope next week is better too. Me too. Honestly, like this month has done pretty good. I made like a lot more AdSense revenue than I thought I was going to. That was good. I'm kind of like running into I'm kind of doing like each video I put out doesn't get very many views, but cumulatively that's kind of adding up, as opposed to, which I think is good because that's more sustainable than like, oh, I did drama content. My video in January covering Riley Grace Rochong was, you know, I got a lot of subscribers and stuff off of that and everything, and a lot of AdSense money and everything. So that was pretty cool, but I don't want to do that regularly. Like, I don't want to be the drama. I like doing it a little bit, but I don't want that to, I don't want to have to rely on it per se. Because I do still want to do stuff that is more chill and is more accessible and not all about conflict all the time, you know? Yeah. If for no other reason, I need to fix the white balance and everything because my hair is supposed to be red and you can't tell at all. Can't tell at all. Yeah. Yeah, it's like you can kind of, if I bring it up close, you can see the red. But I need to fix those things. What is the best way to be notified of your stream going live? Yeah. So first of all, everybody should always check their notification settings if you follow channels that stream. But don't just check your channel settings. Don't just check the channel notification settings, because you may have at some point in the past told YouTube that it can't do notifications at all. So if you have notifications on for me, but you don't have them on for YouTube, then you won't get them for me. You have to have the YouTube notifications enabled and then select all notifications, not curated notifications, for the channels that you want to get notified about, right? 35 and just realized I have gray coming in on the sides of my head. I'm actually pretty excited. I have like white and silver hairs coming in on the sides, and like, where was it? Was it over here? It's over here because I wear my hair in the ponytail. Somewhere in this cluster there's a white one. Oh, it might be this one. There's a white hair right there. I'm getting them all through here and back here. So I'm pretty excited though, because I've been looking forward to it since I became aware of the fact that it was going to someday happen to me when I was a very young child. So blue-gray eyes and gray hair. Hair almost matches the eyes. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Ribbling. That's nifty. Excuse me. That was a burp. I feel like there might be another one. Is there another one? No. No another burp. Yeah, I hope that everybody has been doing okay. All things considered. Like, between your personal health and your family and your kids if you have them, and your parents if you have them, and your job if you have one. I hope that as many things as possible are going well for you as they can be at the moment, because the world is certainly working its way against you. It's really important to take those quiet, personal moments and find something positive in them, you know? If you really love tea, really, like, breathe in the tea before you drink it, you know? That's kind of cool. Asbiel. I had never thought about it that way. And also, I don't normally, like, I don't know, it flops around. It does all kinds. This is usually how I'm wearing it, down like this. Got a new graphics card and have been playing Elden Ring. How did you get a hold of a graphics card? I'm probably not going to buy any new games for myself for a while. Because I actually can't. I mean, like, I don't play very many games right now. I don't really take a lot of time off right now. Or I'm just, like, scrolling, you know? Doom scrolling. Well, hey, Comrade Anthony. That's like a mixture. Started off not great, but ended out good. I hope that you're feeling okay about the situation. I mean, clearly you're, like, on Tinder, so maybe you don't feel too bad, but still rather unfortunate. I mean, you're married, so it's clearly you've been together for a while. Showed up to Micro Center when they got a new shipment in. That's kind of how I got my OLED Switch. My partner just, like, went to the store to check the electronics area out, and they had gotten a shipment that day, and they happened to have one left, you know? Yeah, good on you, Anthony. I'm doing pretty good at, like, letting my gaze just slide past the more upsetting things. I'm trying not to really read any COVID news right now. I keep watching the Ukraine stuff because Ukraine is full of people who are hard motherfuckers, and their bravery inspires me. It really has been, like, pretty instructive about the strength of the human spirit. So, that is one thing. Unequivocally, Ukraine is a fucking based location. It's a based place. Based location. When graphics cards were $1,000 plus 2 or 3 years ago, I got a 1080 Ti for $650. How the fuck did you do that? And also, do you still have... You got a new graphics card. Do you still have the 1080 Ti? I'm joking. I think I have a Radeon... I want to say it's like a 570 or maybe a 580. It's doing pretty good for me. I need to do a lot of system maintenance, I think. At the very minimum, I need to clean it out. Because it's definitely... There's some performance issues. And it shouldn't really be having performance issues with how new it is. When did we build it? We built it either 2019 or 2020, I'm not sure. Comfortably numb. Yeah, that's not necessarily a good place. That's kind of called dissociation, I think. Everything is happening there is terrifying as someone living not overly far away from the country. Yeah, no, it's scary as shit. That's why the bravery is so inspiring, because I watched a person carrying a landmine in their bare fucking hands to move it out of the street and into the woods. That's insane. Yeah, gallows humor. It's not uncommon. Oh, nice. Water cooling loop. Yeah, I've never gotten into water cooling. That's such a good snag, Leftist Owl. That's really good. We stand. We stand. Sunflower lady. I really kind of want to... I don't think I have the right colors, but I really wanted to crochet a sunflower for Ukraine. It's not really appropriate for my pagan practice until May, but yeah. It's hard not to think about it when you're like, you wake up and it's the first thing on your mind, you know? But it's important to take a break from thinking about it constantly, you know? At the very minimum, you gotta, like, rotate between the different things you're upset about, right? You can't, like, let one thing that you're upset about be the only thing that you're upset about, because then everything else that you're upset about won't get the attention that they deserve. Being sarcastic. That was a joke. Yeah. It's always good to get an upgrade. I think that's something that always feels really nice. Yeah, if I don't get the new microphone from the person who was supposed to send me it, I might have to just buy one, because you can hear so much stuff that I don't want you to be able to hear, and it takes post-processing to make it not sound like that. I don't actually know if I'm a good parent to my own grief. I try to be. I'm probably better than I used to be at it. Because I feel like that's one of the things that DBT gave me, was like the skills to handle my grief in a relatively healthy manner. I'm not really trying to get any specific mic, Comrade Anthony. A friend told me they would send me their old one, so I was supposed to not have to think about it. But I might have to be in the market soon. Kind of depends. I don't know. I am definitely past the point at which streaming with me today is going to be entertaining. Currently, no. Currently, I'm using this horrible thing. I should be using an XLR mic, but no. And this horrible fucking... You know, it's certainly done its job. It's certainly done its job for how long I've had it. It's pretty well done for a USB one, yeah. But the fact that you can hear machinery in what is technically the other room... Yeah. Having good audio is just the most important thing about having a good YouTube setup. People will just, even if you have a 4K camera, they'll just click off a video if you have bad audio. If the wind is blowing straight into your microphone, people will not watch the video. Oh my god. Does RTX voice actually do, like, can it affect the live? Yeah, I don't really think about parenting myself. Like, that's just not the manner in which I tend to think about these things. Live noise reduction. Okay, maybe. I've heard people use those, like, live noise reduction things, and it's like it works while they're not speaking, but when they're speaking, then you can hear the background noise again. It sounds very shitty. Like, I don't have anything against having an NVIDIA card. I think Radeon was just what we were able to get at the time, you know? Because it was 2 or 3 years ago. I mean, I appreciate the chutzpah on the self-promo there, but so many people don't even watch YouTube videos, just minimize to do other things. That's true. I do that too. I'll, like, listen to streams or whatever while I'm doing other stuff. Anyway, I don't really feel great, and we definitely already have a segment from the stream today. So I am finishing up editing. I think it should be, I just need to work on the thumbnail and the metadata and stuff. So there's a video from the other day where we're talking about the Texas situation. So if you weren't there for the stream, or even if you were and you're interested in seeing, like, the concise edited version of it, that should be up tomorrow. And then we had the panel today. We'll have the panel coming up later in the week. So we've got content lined up. I'm sure that we'll stream again later in the week. I'm not sure when exactly we're going to stream again, but I like doing it on Sundays, so we'll just we'll start with Sundays as our pretty regular day, and then we'll sort of build out from there. And we will... I'll try to give you, you know, and I've been doing an event in YouTube, scheduling the live stream so that you can know when it's going to happen beforehand. Usually I didn't do it today. And soon there will be a Discord server where we will do announcements beforehand and have an opportunity for people to come in and chat during streams. Potentially we could have live call-ins if we wanted to do that. We can do call-in streams that are for friends and for foes, either way we want to do it. There's a whole lot of stuff that we can dabble in, and we will get progress made, you know? And in the meantime, I hope that you take care of yourself. Prioritize taking those quiet moments. Prioritize feeling those small moments of joy where you can get them. The trick is to find happiness in the brief gaps between disasters. So with that said, and unfortunately the Streamlabs bot being like one of the last things in the chat apparently, I'm gonna head out. I appreciate you all for hanging out, and we'll see you later in the week. Toodles.